I remember when I was 12, my parents and I, we took a tour at the Walt Disney Animation Studio in Orlando, and it was wonderful to actually see an animation studio, but however, it was apparent that the secrets that they have was definitely elusive to the outsider. Because here as a tourist, we were behind a plexiglass, so that plexiglass was pretty much like a solid metaphor for like that veil as mystery. But so flashing forward, I still wanted to learn animation, but just it was impossible at the time, because in order to learn, you would have to go to out-of-state university or a private college or even overseas, and it was virtually impossible for me at the time. Earlier last year or so that I started to take animation courses, and I'm telling you, I have seen so many online animation courses, but there was always still that veil of mystery. Flash forward to this year, I came across AMB's YouTube channel, AMB Real Animators Training, and I was blown away. I just couldn't believe, the knowledge that he was putting out there, the lectures that he was doing. It just pretty much ripped that veil of mystery off the face of the earth. And the thing that really sets his archive, his online lectures and stuff apart from everyone else is the basics. That's the one thing that a lot of the books, a lot of the online animation stuff lack, was the extreme basics, And when I started on that archive, I started understanding the spacing, the timing, the arcs, the slow in, the slow out. And with each exercise, it builds up on each other. And as a result, I start seeing, the arcs. I start understanding and timing things in my head. And it was just so fascinating. And because of that, it just helped revive, my lifelong desire of learning animation. And it just made me so happy that I'm able to pursue and to dream of becoming an animator. So thank you.
So, are you going to join the library?
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of AMB Animation. Right, so I have been away for a while, been doing lots of things. Actually, I've been working on a script with a script writer for one of my projects. We have thus far got a half hour of that script completed, and it's very exciting times. Reading the script is just so much of a joy for me, just seeing it all come to life. But anyway, we are back to do a series of live streams. This is going to be a lot of fun, this live stream. It's going to be my gift to you guys for being patient. We've got some of the lovely people making themselves known in the chat, so this one is going to be staying up on YouTube, but it's going to be a great stream. It's going to be a library worthy stream. Certainly I'm going to be, I think a lot of great cartoon animation was done in the classic shorts in the 50s, particularly in the 50s, when they really got their skills up and running and were really just, a lot of unsung animators were doing amazing things. And animation has just become a series of gimmicks. It's just puppetry, digital puppetry nowadays, with characters snapping into poses and just it relying too heavily on the voice, the silly voices and the chatty dialogue, and there's no more cartoon behavior, classic, flowing, appealing personality. It's sorely lacking in this day and age. Even if you look at the Pixar stuff, my wife was watching Soul on the plane. I couldn't bring myself to watch it, but through the side of my eye, I was just cringing. 1 minute it's trying to be all live actiony, and then it goes into the cartoon aspect, and it's just too babyish. It's just these kind of things, characters, and they're just doing the typical head gestures and the eyebrow raises and the little hands. So I'm really passionate about classic cartoon animation, even though I don't do it myself. So I'm diving in and having a look at those characters for my own personal betterment. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to do a study from a classic Mickey Mouse short. We're going to look at a walk, one of the classic Mickey walks, and my God, this is such a good walk cycle. It's not really a cycle, we just use the word cycle. It's such a nice walk, so much going on in there, and I'm just going to share that with you. And we've got some amazing people in the chat who I know are going to love that, because they're library members. They're passionate about growing in their own animation skills. So you're going to enjoy this one. Right, so I've done a little bit of talking. I've allowed a few people to gather in and make themselves known on the chat so we can jump in and start. But before I do that, let me say hello. We've got the lovely Hervonia Baker. Welcome back. Hey, how are you, Hervonia? I've been missing you on my streams. I've been remembering the last few streams I did. I was thinking Hervonia's not around. I hope she's okay. Good to see you're on my stream. Life Fantasy, how are you? Been enjoying your Instagrams and your ventures into 2D hand-drawn animation again, because I know you like to jump in and out, so really liking seeing some of that stuff. Kitcha Cat, how are you? We've got the adorable Kitcha Cat. Peralta, I hope I said that right. Peralta King, how are you? Thank you for joining me on this stream. Dylan, I'll destroy you. Draws. Good to see you. And another Dylan afterwards, Dylan Royer. I hope his project is going well. Zentron with his Mickey Mouse song there. And Max, power up. There we go. So those are the hellos we have done. We've clocked 8 minutes off the clock. Let's now jump in and let me change my scenes, change my mic. So let's talk in the mic. Let's bring the mic in a little bit. And I'm so happy you're... How can I forget that? I'll do it one more time. Dylan, I'll destroy you all. Draws. Okay, so this, if you guys want to know the reference that I'm using, it's called The Little Whirlwind. And it's on YouTube. Now, I'm just going to jump in and I'm going to start doing this, so I can't see the chat. But I will pop in and look at the chat every now and then. But I'm on my other monitor, I'm looking. Let me see, my OBS is working fine, stream is working. So I'm looking on my other monitor at The Little Whirlwind. Full of amazing stuff. Right, let's just jump in here. And let's start with the extreme contact positions, right? So let's first look at the posing. I mean, this is another thing that is sorely lacking in modern puppetry. I hesitate to call it animation. You know, I'm so happy that AI art and AI animation is upon us, because now, you know, I no longer have to justify my brand. You know, people would take offense about this real animator term that I would use. Well, I mean, if you're going to use the AI stuff, I mean, what does AI stand for? It stands for artificial. And let's face it, when a computer does motion tweening for you and all of that stuff, you're using artificial intelligence. It's now just come out a bit more on itself. So real animator training, the craft of hand-drawn animation, that's what we're doing. Now I'm starting with this pose here. I'm looking at the silhouette, but there's a few things that I want to talk to you about the actual pose before we jump in and start doing the animation, because it's the appeal, the law of appeal, the law of exaggeration, which is what makes this stuff so great, right? So I'm just looking at the guy's silhouette first, right? And then we're going to go in. So let me start drawing this guy in, and then I will explain to you what makes this drawing that I'm referring to so nice. So let's just get his eyes down there. You can already see from the pose just how appealing it is, just how important you know, draftsmanship and drawing was when it came to animation back in the day. And you know, even now in this day and age, the CG characters are not posed like this, because this is unique to drawing. So even it doesn't matter what you're using, even if you're using a digital rig, it won't have these the things that I'm going to show you. And even if you try to push it in there, that's it. You can't make it a formula. You can't make this sort of stuff. Even though Mickey's a model, the model and how to draw Mickey is turned into a formula. You can't. When you get to a good level at real animation, aka hand-drawn animation, it stops becoming a formula, because these kind of choices of exaggeration that the artist has are unique to that individual artist. Now this is just great. Look how I'm just familiarizing myself with the guy here, and I'm spending a bit of time on this because I want you guys. I'm gonna then get my red pen out, and I'm going to I'm moving fast, so I'm drawing straight in black today. I'm not going to fart about and try to make the drawings any nicer than what I'm doing at the moment. So this is it. This is the level, because we got a lot of animation to get through, a lot of appealing things to get through on this particular walk. It really is a great walk. That's another thing. I was in talks with somebody doing about going over to Eastern Europe and helping out some animation studios there, and explaining to them about, you know, they love classic cartoons, and that's another reason why I was studying it. But I went one deeper, because they everybody who tries to do classic cartoons just mimics classic cartoons. And logic would say, well, yeah, that's what I'm going for. But you got to understand the era that these things were made in. The silent era was around. Charlie Chaplin, Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton, these kind of artists, actors, mime artists were big, because, you know, talking in film wasn't really a thing back then. So you had to be larger than life, you know, Charles Chaplin being one of the finest, Buster Keaton another one. So you had to be larger than life. And Walt Disney and Charlie Chaplin were good friends. And when they made Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Charlie Chaplin particularly cited how much he liked Dopey, because Dopey didn't talk. So these guys studied mime artists. You know, they literally studied mime artists, were sort of like the live action reference for them back in the day. Now, they didn't take live action reference, they would just observe and watch the movements and then do what needs to be done. Right, so this drawing is nowhere near as strong as the drawing I've just looked at. In fact, I haven't pushed it as much as it should be, but it'll do. Now, what I want you to notice is just how look at this kind of swirling thing happens. So I'm going to take that away, right? Look at that. Isn't that incredible? Like, that's what the character's pose is based around. So you got the swirling thing there, then you've got the feet coming in like a figure of 8 here, like that. Look at how it all kind of joins and connects up with each other, right? So you literally have this kind of shape, which is the body, right? And then you're going to sit the head on top, which is the classic, you know, Mickey head, right? Where you have the snout and the mouth on there, and the eyes are going to be like, I'll talk about that in a minute. And the other leg you just kind of join in like that. So what a great flowing pose this character has in that regard. So just before we even begin animating anything here, it's important to just take on board the genius that goes into these flowing poses. And look how although his chest is, look how straight his chest is here, and although it's busting out here, how everything is framed within, so he's not off balance, you know, he's completely on balance. So everything is just working extremely well, with the hat hiding behind the ears hiding behind the hat there, which is a great little cheat. Now the whole Mickey drawing of Mickey's head, right, very quickly before we move on, in case you want to know, because I'm not going to talk too much about that, right? So we've got the sphere. Now as we've got the sphere, we've got like the snout, which comes on top of it like this, right? So we've got the snout which comes on top, and a bottom lip. Now we have this kind of three-dimensional eye thing happening here. So you'll have one eye here and the other eye here, but they're kind of getting smaller in size. So you've got this kind of thing going on with his eye there, like that. And then then you kind of just fill in the rest of it, right? So his ear would, one ear would be here on the top of there, and the other ear would be at the back there, like that. The body itself is a bean-like structure, and the arm kind of sits on it, and he's not wearing his shorts at the moment, but it's, you know, everything fits in. So his foot is going to be here, his foot's, so everything, that's basically it. That's how I'm able to recreate the character using that construction. I did say I'm gonna not talk too much about it, but that'll give you a little bit of a heads up. Right, so now let us move on to the next contact position I'm going to go for. So we're going to the contact position. So in order to do that, I have to keep an eye on his foot here, like this, right? So I'm not, like, this is extreme animation. I often get people commenting on some of my videos because I'm not conventional. I'm not doing what a lot of people have gone to either learn from books, or they've had a little bit of studio experience, and they haven't been around some of the more, you know, seasoned, experienced people who do a lot of pose to pose and straight ahead on the fly, you know, and literally end up working with a lot of extremes and their breakdowns, and which makes unconventional animation and more spontaneous yet controlled pose to pose animation. And they say to me, oh, well, you're just drawing constant keys and you're calling those extremes and breakdowns. And I've had a few comments on some of my videos. I just laugh it off because I don't need to explain to them. I know, hey, you can't do what I do, so either put up or shut up. You know, if you can do what I can do and you can do it better than me, then maybe I'll listen, you know. So I can't be bothered to argue with those guys. But what I'm telling you here right now is that basically the way it works is you want to have your pose is good, but you also are going to be doing a lot of different little nuances in between them, which are going to call for a lot more a lot more interesting arts. Therefore, you're going to need more keys, right? You're going to need more key frames, and you're going to need more breakdown frames. And that's how you're going to be able to manage it in an intelligent way, right? Because especially in this day and age, when what I'm teaching you how to be is how to be a great independent artist outside of the factory system. I mean, the industry is completely, almost virtually dead when it comes to quality animators. It's going to get more and more as they're going to be more and more dependent on AI, which I think is absolutely fantastic, because this is the time I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for artists who perhaps don't have the mental game right, in a sense, and they're a little bit insecure, and they feel the only way they're gonna do anything is to be part of this big machine that was once great because there was no other way than to hire artists. But now the technology's there where they can just churn it out with this generic automated looking work that they have now. It's great because now artists can go, well, we know how to do it. We've got the understanding how to draw and how to animate, and we're going to make it unique, or a unique expression, so that's what this is all about, so today we're looking at how the real artists back in the day animated cartoon characters, and you're going to see when you look at this walk just how charming and how appealing it is. Right, so as I go through the extremes, rather, I'm going to point out the constants and the changes between them, so we can see how the animator tackles getting from one pose to another. We're also going to be looking at animation law. We're going to be making sense of the 12 laws of animation and spotting the obvious ones and the not so obvious uses of them. So now these feet are extremely appealing. We've kind of like got two bunches. You want to work at the heel and deal with this like a one entire, like so. This is going to be like a oblong kind of oval ellipse, and then you attach a heel to it. Right. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to start, I'm going to lock it down just a little bit, right? So again, we can see the eyes are following that kind of mold that I showed you. They're sitting on the nose, right? They're sitting on the nose, and the nose is just a nice shape like this. Now the mouth is in line with that, right? Mickey is a very deceptive character, it has to be said. And one of the best ways I can say it is, if you go on Instagram, you can see a lot of pros, some who have even worked at Disney, that draw Mickey and it's off, He's a difficult character to get right. He seems very easy, he seems very straightforward. They give you the formula. I'll tell you somebody who's just an absolute amazing draftsman. And I'm so thankful that he hasn't passed and he's still with us, because a lot of people from that generation are sadly no longer with us. Is a gentleman by the name of Floyd Norman. Go follow his Facebook page if you're not. He was an original artist. He was around when Walt Disney was around, and he does a lot of Disney illustration even now, with just watercolors, gouache, and painting. And he really gets this type of drawing, right? Obviously, that's where he was he's from. But his drawings are always on model, on point, and so charming. Like every time I look at his drawings, every morning when I just have a little bit of a scroll through my Facebook, just to see things that inspire me, and the algorithm has been set up that way. Floyd Norman is always one of them. Right, so let's have a look at what's happening here before we move on. Right, so as the character is coming forward here, we can see this red line going on. So all that's happening is there's no change in this shape. Right, he's taking a step, but what is obviously happened is there's a head turn. Right, so the first step forward, there's a head turn. Right, but there's nothing really different going on with his body. His arms are still behind his back. Let's look at the arm behind the back, like that. Right, so if we were to think of it like a big shape, right, that's how you can really understand volume and form. You can look at it as something like that. Right, are you enjoying this content? If you are, please let me know by pressing the like button and subscribing, because that will help this information reach people like yourself, who are dedicated artists, real animators, looking to expand and improve your ability. Thank you. Just looking in the corner there, Dylan Draws is sharing the link to Mr. Floyd Norman. We have got Cameron Allen Davidson Black. Good to see you. Glad to see you online. Always enjoying your posts. Mo Junior Tunes. Mojo, good to have you online. K.A. I've got to read his comment there. AI is the opposite of real animation. AMB is like the John Henry of animation, beating the machine. I don't know if I'm beating the machine. I'm just playing to my strengths, which is being a man. All right, and the machine will play to its strengths and be a machine. Right, so BC Wendell, good to have you online. Okay, so we've just had a little bit of chit chat going in there. Let's go back on to the next pose of this walk. Right, so he's going to take another step. Bum, 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 bum. Wow, what a walk and what an action that goes into these steps. Just incredible. Just incredible. Right, so what I'm going to do is I've got to keep an eye on his rear leg here. Right, and this calls for a silhouette drawing with the other foot out here like this. Again, silhouette drawing is super important because it helps us understand strong posing. So I'm going to make a quick study and analysis of the character silhouette. People often message me and they say, AMB, we watch you drawing and we watch you drawing silhouette. Do you always start with the silhouette? No, that would be being pretentious and lying to you. That is as if that's somehow an end goal. There is no end goal, all right? Don't look for an end goal. Always look to be constantly bettering yourself and creating better animation. So there is no end goal. There is no this is the best tool for this job or that's the best tool for that job. Sometimes you'll need a small screwdriver for a small screw and a large screwdriver for a large screw. It sounds obvious, but I think in the art world people think that there's a one master technique that you're going to do. So why am I talking about that? The thing is you want to make it a habit to study silhouette and to draw this way, to just remind yourself of the bigger picture, because that's what the silhouette is. It's the bigger picture. And when you're constantly drawing from the inside out, you're not thinking about the bigger picture. And many people, particularly beginners, all right, particularly beginners, they tend to get lost in the detail, right? They want to get the hand. Excuse me, I knew there was something bugging me. They want to get the hands right. They want to get the certain aspects of the anatomy right. They want to get the shading in. They want to get all the facial features down. They want to make sure that it's looking correct. That's all the fine little details. That's all well and good, but if you're going to do that at the very end. Make sure that everything you're doing is, particularly with animation, because you're seeing these frames 1/24th, or in case 2/24ths of a second when you're working on twos. So you're just glimpsing at them. That doesn't mean that the drawings should be bad, but what it means is that, like, you're looking at a bunch of little shapes dancing around to make a big shape, right? And by doing this, I'm training myself. Everything in life is habitual programming, right? And the mainstream media know this, which is why they like to habitually program you into a fear, worry and doubt and dependent upon them mindset, right? So everything in life is habitual programming. So what I'm doing is I'm aware of that, and I'm saying, well, let me habitually program myself to always remember the silhouette. So when I'm creating a pose from my imagination, I might have an idea of the silhouette, but it's not good enough. I need to do put in some of those little details that stop it from being, that help me see the silhouette better, basically. But I don't get caught up in those details. I immediately go back to thinking about, okay, well, that's how that part of the anatomy works in a very loose way. Now, what would it do to the silhouette? What would it do to the silhouette? How is this affecting the silhouette? And by remembering that, whenever you're doing your drawing and you're always thinking silhouette, 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 your half of the battle, or I would say 3/4 of the battle, are won. And again, when I showed you that example of the body just being that, and I colored in that red shape just a few moments ago when we did the previous frame, I basically showed you that that's all that the body is. It's just a shape moving. And here you can really see that shape in effect. So here we've got these 3 steps moving forward, right? So he's taken this step forward like that. And if I look again, right? So if we start with this shape here, right? Let's just take this shape here, right? And let's see what it's doing. Because this is the important thing you need to look at. Watching me draw Mickey Mouse is all fun. Oh, isn't he looking like Mickey? Isn't it good? And all that. But that's not where the learning is done, right? The learning is done by watching what's happening to this particular shape. Now, the funny thing is I'm going to switch here. I've been following this leg, right? But I'm not. I'm just going to, because essentially I want you to see what is happening to the silhouette, right? As we do that, right? So it's got a hole in it. The hole is closing, and it's more or less the same shape, right? So while it looks like he's taken 3 steps, right? That's all that's happened to the body, right? And there's just one big head turn going like that, right? Not quite, all right? It goes more like that, right? More like that, right? So that's essentially what's happening, right? So we're really simplifying this down into something that you can see, because this is how good key animation or extremes animation should be done, where I can't take credit for this. It's not my animation. Just to remind you, I'm making a study from a Mickey Mouse cartoon called The Little Mermaid. No, somebody asked, will I be adding sound to this example? No, I will not be adding sound to this example because it is we're just looking at movement, right? It's not my animation. I'm looking at some animation from yesteryear, which was actually a time when animation was a lot better, particularly cartoon animation. So we're taking a look at how to be good at cartoon animation, because if you look at today's stuff, it isn't particularly good cartoon animation, and it's all very samey, whereas this has got this unique, appealing flow and charm to it that you just don't see cartoons move like this anymore, which is such a shame, because they're cartoons. They're not live action people. They're not mimicking life. They're literally larger than life in a not so pantomime way, in what can only be called an animated way, because this is animation, real animation. And I must stress that. That's exactly why I'm online. That's exactly why I'm here. I'm doing this thing. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me preserving this art form and helping the future generation of real animators, helping them understand things that perhaps they should be looking at, that they're not looking at because they've been trying to be erased through time, which is a shame, because this is where the real stuff was done. Right, so let's come in here and talk about the face construction. So again, I'm going to do a little kind of guide for the eyes here like this, and that's going to help me get the proportions. Now his eyes are always tricky because they're always at the edge of his head in that 3/4 view. It's a very, very clever design, really. He's a cartoon character that's appealing. I'm talking about the proper Mickey. I mean, I was so happy, actually. I recently went to Disneyland Paris, and I really didn't want to go because I thought I would see all the new things there, like Marvel and Disney Pixar, and all the Mickey Mouse stuff would be the new Powerpuff Girl looking ugly redesign for digital puppetry, and not for not like these amazing drawings which were drawn by real artists. But when I went there, I was so happy to see that there was none of that there. It was all this old Mickey. I was like, wow, they've really preserved the heritage. And why I'm saying that is because drawing this thing is so much different to drawing the new one. The new one looks like something that isn't drawn. It's just given to somebody to trace shapes in Adobe Illustrator and make a character out of it. But the intelligence of this design is they wanted a logo which was a circle, right, and 2 other circles. That just means Mickey Mouse, right? So where I went to Disneyland, it was his 30th anniversary, and they had like this kind of like they'd written the word 30 like this. And my father-in-law said to me, what does that mean? Because he doesn't know much about Disney animation. It's from an older gentleman from India. And so I said, well, and I finished the drawing for him. I said, well, this is the whole thing. The whole iconography of this character is that silhouette means something, but inside that silhouette, you've literally got a really appealing through the right choice of shapes, you've got a really appealing character, right? That can also be a graphic shape. Now that's the right way to do it. But when you look at the newer one, the ugly thing that they tried to push out, that it's, I mean, I'm very happy. It looks like it's on its way out now. That looked like some kind of Powerpuff Girl Cartoon Network garbage. It completely lost all of that artistry, appeal, and just looked like something that was designed to be just digitally manipulated by just sliding circles around, in the easiest way possible. So all these swervy drawings and swervy lines that I'm making in this pose here, it's not possible with that type of ugly cartooning. So again, I don't care if people are listening to this that like that kind of stuff and feeling a bit uncomfortable, or they want to jump to defend it. I'm not here to nurse anybody's feelings. I'm here to help people that want to get good at this art form see, understand, and then know why this stuff is infinitely superior, and no questions asked, particularly in terms of drawing, in terms of movement, and in terms of like every possible thing that could possibly relate to animation. This is extremely high grade stuff. So rather than just looking at Milk Carl and Disney feature animation all the time as if that's the good stuff, I'm like, no, hang on. We're living in a world where cartoons are extremely prevalent, but they ain't cartoons. They're just a load of shit. They're just really, really wrong, really bad. Just designed to be manipulated as opposed to be drawn. That's what animation has become. So here we have an era where these characters were designed to be drawn, and drawn by people who could really draw. And now we're in an era where the characters are designed to be manipulated. So that kind of settles it for me when it comes to this kind of stuff. Okay, we've got some questions. I will come to these questions a little later on. Right, so we have look at this pose here. Look at the swirl. I'm not going to go in here, but basically the whole of this animation is basically, it starts with this shape, right, and it ends with this shape, right, and he's walking, right, and all that's happened is he's turned his head, and I'm telling you, when I get into some of these poses of the actual walk, man, it blows me away when I look at this stuff. It just really does. So there's one final pose, which is the end settled. He does a whole lot more. It's worth watching this whole short. I'm only doing the walk, but man, this whole little scene that I'm doing is a dream. It's basically a dream to watch. If you love animation, real animation, I highly recommend you go and you watch these classic Mickeys, classic Donald, classic Goofy from the 1930s, even earlier. I mean, the late 20s, I believe. No, early 30s is you got The Brave Little Tailor, which had an earlier Mickey design by Frank Thomas, one of the world's greatest animators ever, right? So just watch this stuff. Watch it if you're interested in cartoon animation, into appeal, into exaggeration. Two of these laws which are just not really, nobody focuses on this stuff anymore, right? It's just so important to your development if you want to get good at this stuff. I myself, through much of my professional career, ignored this stuff. I was too much of a fanboy of the You know, we all get caught into it. You know, that's something that comes with age. You lose your it's important to be a fan of things when you're young. They motivate you, they inspire you. So all this stuff that I'm rubbishing, a lot of you people who are young, you might get a little bit irritated. That's okay, get irritated. I would be irritated if I was irritated when my brother met one of my heroes, Andreas Deja. I never got the chance to meet him. Guy who animated Jafar, Scar, who else did he do? My God, Hercules. He was considered Disney's number 2 after Glenn Keane, which I think that's all a load of old gobblers. I think a lot of these guys are great at some things and not as great at others, and you know. But anyway, so he was right up there, and he called all the 90s stuff that I loved rubbish. He didn't call it rubbish, but he said, "Oh, that's not anything." He was embarrassed that my brother was praising it, and he was talking about Milk Carl. And at the time, I was a youngster, so I was thinking, no, this stuff is all great. But when you mature a bit and you start to look at things purely through the level of your own development, rather than hero worshipping or being a fanboy of anything, you start to just see things as they are. And these old cartoons are just amazing, particularly when it comes to cartoon animation, right? The cartoony stuff. So go watch a lot of these things. I understand they might not be, oh, Mickey Mouse, who wants to look at Mickey Mouse? He's just, you know, he's more of a piece of branding rather than an animation. But if you're watching me do this little thing and just looking at, these are just the extremes that I've done, right? These are just the main walk poses. And as you just see me scrubbing through them like that, you look at just how appealing that little walk, even without any of the in-betweens, and my God, when you start breaking it down, you're gonna see something, I tell you, because I certainly do. Then you're gonna, hopefully I'm gonna open your eyes, which is what I'm here to do, to say, well, okay, all this stuff that I'm into, Cartoon Network, anime, whatever that Klaus or whatever this modern 2D that you're into, say, okay, I'm into that stuff, but I can kind of see something good in this, what he's showing me. Let me go and look at it. You go away and you look at it, and then you realize just how important it is, because you might be into that stuff, but what are you more into? Are you into that stuff, or are you into yourself succeeding and being amazing, right? So look at that. So right, here we are. So this is the last pose that we're going to stop it at. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 poses. So each of these are contact positions for the walk, right? And as I've mentioned, he just turns his head and moves. Now we're going to look at that, check my volumes. It's about right. Maybe this first pose is a little, maybe I can push this last pose and make it a little bit bigger, like that. Okay, so there we have those. How are we doing for time? We're not an hour. We're not even an hour into this yet. Let me just briefly look at some of your comments in the chat and involve some of you all in here. So let's just do this. Let's put my webcam on, turn that mic off. Okay, so that was that comment. Cameron Black, we said hello to my friend. Red Fox, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Cloud says, hey, so I've been watching most of your live streams and they're great. Keep up the great work. Thank you. And was wondering if you can do a full character coloring process of an animation. Personally, I don't focus on that so much because I'm more about the training you to get good at actual animation, rather than a lot of people want to be able to produce finished work and put content out there. That's great. I support that and I wish you the best at that. But what I stand for is my brand is Real Animation. I'm here to really focus on, hey, is your stuff moving the way you want it to move? You know how you can make it move it better? Let's focus on these 12 laws. Let's focus on your drawing. Let's focus on the anatomy. The whole coloring process, I can explain it the way I do it. It isn't necessarily the most effective way to do it. I will grant you that you can use software to do that, and there are dedicated softwares that can do it better than others. I'll be honest, I'm not interested in that. I like to work this way. Behind me, if you just excuse me, I'll remove these scarves. Behind me is the way I really like to work. Okay? I would love to do it all on paper, but it's just faster and cleaner and easier for you to watch this screen and hear me talk. I'm still just making marks, right? So that's the way I like to do it. I'm a real old school animator. I'm here to help you with the fundamentals. But thanks for the question. I'm sure that somebody out there has probably got a great tutorial on finishing and coloring in an animation. What I will say to you, if you want to color in animation, you can do it actually. I was going to say it as a matter of fact, but it's not so. Your animation doesn't have to be so tight and clean. Okay, you can color in rough and all that, but make sure that you got your cleanup down, your finished drawings solid, there's no volume errors. Then worry about the coloring, because animation is all blocks of color. Anyone know what software he is using? It doesn't matter. What matters is the marks that I'm making. As I said, I've been saying it and I've been proven right, and I love, see that R in the background, that stands for Real Animator Training. And in a word, Real Animator Training is you are the real animator. You are the one making the marks, all right? I've always joked that sooner or later people are going to be talking in their phone and they can make their own Pixar movie. We're getting to that stage now. AI and art, AI animation is here. What does A stand for? It stands for artificial. What does that stand for? That stands for real. So get, with all due respect and with the greatest of love, get your head out of the machine and into your humanity, where your real art exists, and use these tools, whether they're wood on wood or plastic on glass, to make the best marks you can make. Make your mark in this world, right? It's not, nowadays you can use anything to animate with. Batch Tunes, how are you? Yes, the older Disney animations are very charming. Good to see you, Kevin Silver. Alpha Proto, how are you? Yeah, the Looney Tunes had their own charm, but I found Looney Tunes were more about the zaniness and the humor, the wacky humor. Animation-wise, there's a lot of ropey stuff in them, but the Chuck Jones characters are extremely strong drawings in their own right, and the comedy timing is amazing. But animation-wise, they're a little, I can't pretend that I don't see things that go, oh, that's a bit dodgy. Mr. Leon, I don't see him in the chat. People are mentioning his name. There he is. Mr. Leon, you are going to enjoy this stream because we're studying a classic cartoon animation walk. Now, why is my stream, we're 54 minutes in. We're almost an hour in, so I'm gonna go back and we're gonna be doing more of this. Just one more comment. Is 2D animation dead? When will it come back into mainstream production? How is it dead? Or, why do people think something is dead? I'm doing it here. Many people are doing it. Anybody doing something, it's not dead. What is dead is brainless 2D animation being used for brainless mass media garbage. Let's look at some of the greatest 2D animated films of recent time. The Jungle Book, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Lady and the Tramp, Pinocchio, The Lion King. Some of these things were considered great works of art. They inspired a generation. The reason I'm sitting here talking to you is because of these films. They have been thrown in the garbage heap and replaced by digital garbage. So what does it mean that is 2D animation dead? No. Why would you want to be part of something that is not artistic? Mainstream entertainment is all well and good, but it's a double-edged sword. All of that great art has now been thrown on the back burner to please, the brainless masses. I'm so happy that hand-drawn animation is now no longer mainstream. It is where it deserves to be. It deserves to be for the people. You wouldn't want to put your heart and soul into something and not for it not to be appreciated. You need the right audience, and the dumb masses are not the right audience for this kind of artwork. Hand-drawn animation is free. Celebrate it. It's not dead, it's free. Real, I don't call it 2D animation. By the way, that stuff you're watching is not animation, it's automation, right? AI animation, automation, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to call this 2D animation. I don't want to call it traditional animation. I call it real animation. That's what I call it. And I'm working hard at doing this. I'm working hard to help inspire a generation of real animators to continue moving forward, producing real animated content, impressing your abilities on there. Okay. The Simpsons is, you can like it, but it's not really anything to write home about animation-wise. It's just nuts and bolts, interchangeable. Like that's not, that's probably why we're where we're at with 2D animation, because of things like The Simpsons and South Park, where the industry realizes that the audience doesn't care so much about how good it moves or how quality it is. They just want to see a crude drawing with crude humor and fast talking dialogues and script writers masturbating over what they're doing and having, it just churn itself out and make political comments. And then that's where we are. So I'm not saying there's not a market for that. Clearly there is, and that's why we are where we are. But so I'm thankful for that stuff. But when it comes to people, my audience is niche. I'm here, as I said, just like I said, I'm here for artists. I'm here for people who consider themselves to be real artists, aspire to be real artists, have visions in their head, have passion. I'm here to help you release that on the page, release that on the screen to the best of your ability, so that when you know it's quality and the people that watch it know it's quality, and there's no kind of like pretense about, it's just another style. Okay, it's just another style. I'll call it shit. That's the way. That's my take on it. So hand-drawn animation, real animation, it is something very different. Animation is a broad term, so that's what it is. All right, now let's go and switch scenes. So let's put my mic on. Let's turn that off. So let's now have a look at what this guy does in our poses. So I'm going to be looking for putting in some key poses in between these steps. So the first one I'm going to be looking for pause positions, but if we look between here and here, let me just check if my microphone's working. Let me know if it's not. Blah de blah blah. Eric Goldberg is a master. Eric Goldberg is an absolute master, one of my heroes. He sent me an email responding to some work that I sent him, and he was very encouraging to me in my 20s. So yes, Eric Goldberg is a genius. Right, so I'm going to look at breaking this walk down by putting some keyframes between here, right? So now if we look at this and this foot is coming forward, right? So we can't very well do a passing position between here and here, right? So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to seek out a down, all right? Because the down and an up is what's probably going to be required, right? So, and exactly that's where we are. So this guy moves his head down. So here I'm going to focus on the silhouette, right? So the hat dips down. Let me see what he does with his ears very quickly. Okay, it's just subtle stuff. The ear just moves about here. The head is like this kind of thing. And this pose. So we're doing squash and stretch at the moment. I'm going to get rid of the next panel. We don't want the next panel. It's kind of throwing me off. So he's kind of bending this knee a little bit more. Let me see what's happening with this constant leg here. Okay, that's what's happening, right? So the knee is bending this way. So this shape is coming like this, and this leg is bending, but it's kind of sliding backwards. So the foot is sliding, or it's slid or slided up here like this. This is more or less in the same position. So here we see what's happening. So we've got this down pose here like this. So here you can see I'm very much focusing on the silhouette, right? The down shape of the silhouette, so we can see how the squash and stretch is happening. This down is always an anticipation. So the down is an anticipation of the step, right? So we've got the law of anticipation happening here, and the law of squash and stretch, because the character is getting into a squashed pose as he is doing this thing, right? So now he's closed his mouth is smiling, right? You see, I had a comment where I think I'm going from memory, so somebody said, oh, but it takes so long to do. I mean, I feel like that when I sit down to watch anything on Netflix. You look at all this shit that people waste so much of their time on, like The Witcher or Stranger Things and all these things. You can say, but I like that. I'm deliberately picking shows that people like, right? And calling it like a waste of time. Because the thing is are you an artist? Are you a creator, right? Are you a watcher or are you a doer? What do you want to be? What do you want to do? Where's your priorities? Why are you... There's something in you is wanting to watch this video because something in you wants to create. And eventually the boy becomes a man, or the girl becomes a woman, or whatever you want to, eventually you've got to stop wasting time and thinking things that are actually better uses of your time, worrying about how long that's going to take you. Oh, it takes so long. It takes so long to do. Nothing great worth doing, is going to be rushed out there. The more time you put into something means the more energy you've put into it. The more energy you've put into it, the better it's going to be. Even if it turns out wrong, even if somebody else has done something fast and effective, what have you got out of putting all that time? You've got a lesson out of it. You've got a life's lesson. You've learned something that you can implement the next time you do something. Nothing is a waste except for unless you just want to continue your life watching mainstream entertainment, arguing about politics, arguing about stuff that really is meaningless to the beautiful moment of existence that you have for a brief amount of time on this earth. What are you going to do with it? What are you going to do with it? So the thing is like, I always scratch my head when people talk about hand-drawn animation and say, but it takes so long to do. Is there another agenda at work? You just want attention? Then don't do hand-drawn animation. It's don't and AI art is here for people who want to just knock things out quickly. Use AI art, and that's why another reason why people are afraid of AI art is, why are you afraid of it? Like, most people have all of the things they need to succeed, but it's all free. A lot of it is free. But you know why they don't succeed? Because it's free. Because they haven't invested anything. Because they don't really have the interest in something. So, AI art, the people that are going to be fiddling with it are going to be the people that don't really care about art. I played around with it, I gave it a shot, it didn't work, I failed. And then you'll focus on the one person who didn't fail, and then say that that's the norm. I'm not talking about the industry. The industry has been using AI for years, which is why I called my thing real animation. How do you think motion tweening occurs? Through artificial intelligence. How do you think all this deformer and texture mapping and bending and warping, that all these 3D and lighting, what is that? It's AI. It's coding, it's programming, it's all, so people get offended. But no, this is real animation. This is drawing, hand-drawn, individual marks being made, Right, so that's the down. Now I'm going to focus on the up. So all he's done here is he's just squashed. This leg has come back. Everything is extending outwards like that, right? So now we're going to move into the up position. I will need a beautiful story, because if I put 10,000 hours of 30 minutes, well, what is it? A beautiful story is only, it depends how it's told. I mean, people can butcher a beautiful story. It depends how it's told. I mean, if you think about it, everybody loved Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Why? Because you're watching, all you're doing is you're watching a bunch of old men, 7 little old men, washing their hands, dancing around, going to work, and just doing trivial things. I mean, everybody loved it. It's the way the story was told. So people can sit there and say, if I'm going to put all this hours into this and that, what's important is that you're passionate about what you're doing and that you like it. That's all I can say. If you're an artist, if you're creating things for other people, be in for a world of hurt. Because everybody's a critic and everybody's going to say something, and it's not necessarily going to be what you like to hear. So I'm here to say, focus on yourself, focus on what rocks your boat, and channel your energy into that. And if that's what you're living for. I've had tons of my work that I do rejected by YouTube views and what not, but I'm still here, I'm still inside, swelling my chest out. You know why? Because I know what I do is infinitely better than the garbage that's getting accepted or acknowledged. I don't care. I float my own boat. Artists express themselves, and an audience is nice. Entertainers need an audience. Artists are just there, they can't help it. They're just there to do what they love doing. So I'm not here to tell you how to think. I'm not here to tell you how to be. I'm not here to do anything other than just share my ethos with you, as we study and learn this great art form. And, you know, as the great Bruce Lee once said, absorb what is useful, reject what is useless, and add specifically what is your own, right? If you don't need to convince anybody about your point of view in terms of what you want to do as an animator. But if you feel that there's stuff that I'm saying that can help you do it, you know, just stick around for that stuff and ignore the stuff that you perhaps don't necessarily align yourself with. It's all good as long as there's some learning and some helping and sharing being done. That's all good. Right, so now we notice how even in the up pose, right? So he's coming up here. We're still keeping this head delayed here. So we've got squash and stretch in the anticipation, right? And what we have now is the head is kind of constant. It's kind of staying level, right? But if we look, there's a slight down on his head as a sort of like drag going on here, right? So if you can see that. So we're pretty much keeping this, and the hat has got a little bit of drag in it as well. So the hat is coming back like that, right? If you want to tell a good story in animation, my friend, or anything for that matter, make sure you understand the rules of script writing. Make sure you understand, you know, what makes a good story, what's an A story, what's a B story, right? What are you know, what the A story involves the plot, the B story involves the characters, and that's what makes it entertaining, the B story, right? Because at the end of the day, when your characters, contrast is always important. You know, if everything was the same color, you wouldn't see anything, right? If everything was funny, then you wouldn't have a time to rest to know what was funny, right? So needs and wants of a character, contrasts, right? Have them contrasting, conflicting with each other, right? Protagonist, antagonist, these kind of things. You can make a great story out of anything if you understand the rules of storytelling. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here online anyway. I'm creating content, so I am doing my own stories. I'm working on my own script with a script writer helping me get it to level. But why I'm here engaging with all you guys is not for that. Why I'm here is more for helping you guys understand how to draw and animate better, right? As a craft. Preserving the craft of real animation is extremely important. And hopefully when I've finished, you can all just go watch this scene right now. And you don't have to watch me animate it, but watching me reanimate it and explain it to you, you're maybe gonna see things and appreciate things about it that you wouldn't, you know. And particularly if you're an animator yourself, if you know about the laws of animation. So somebody like Mr. Leon in the chat, who is a professional animator who earns money from animating, he can watch a stream like this, and he can appreciate things that perhaps he didn't know before, because he's still acquiring knowledge. You know, he's still acquiring knowledge to get to this level. You know, that's essentially why I'm here to help and align myself with people who are on that road. It's very fulfilling, it has to be said. Right, so here we have the foot coming up. So I'm just doing as usual, I'm not trying to make it all fluid, right? I'm doing the necessary frames that have to be done. The keys and the breakdowns, right? At the moment, I believe I'm putting in all keys. So this is an up. So we've still got a down up, even if it's just this one step, right? And then he comes into this contact like this, all right? There's gonna be a breakdown between here and here. Hey Mayfly, how are you? Edge Deep, good to see some people still coming in the chat. Um, I'm gonna see what Mayfly is talking about a little bit later. Now look at this, alright? So even this feels like a good piece of cartooning, but I'm gonna show you something. This is why I picked this walk. Man, this is outstanding stuff. Alright, so here we go. Right? So now I just got to watch what he's doing with his head. His head is arcing up. Man, this is so much fun. Right. So then here he's gonna go. We're gonna close that. Right. Oh, so he closes. So the arms close back on themselves. So this shape, I've got to really watch this silhouette. This busts out like this. Man, this is so good. This is so good, right? And it's even better than what I'm going to show you right now, but I'm going to come back and do another pass of this, to get the breakdowns in, right? I'm just doing the key poses, right? This is why I talk about this thing as like extreme animation and then key animation. I mean, essentially, even this arguably is an extreme, what I'm doing at the moment. So look how he kicks his leg out like that. That is so cool. And we have this. And then this, I can't see because it's all dark black there, but we have something like this. Now he's starting to turn his head. So we're going to look at a Mickey Mouse head turn. So we're going to look at some head turn animation in this. Now I'm going to tackle this head turn by doing the sphere, right? And then we're going to have the nose, which comes up here, right? We got a little bit of the nose out here like this. And it's going to sit in there, and we're just going to put the smile in. So it's going to arc up this way. And we've got a little bit of the eye here. So my sphere indentation was a little bit off, the division. That's the thing about Mickey and getting him right, is his eyes, and the placement of his eyes is always tricky, right? Then here we've got the round head. So it all comes like this. Now let's figure out the hat, right? So the hat is now turning on itself like this. It's all good. You see how this is all shape. Ready, Mr. Leon, to do the dab, the secret science of shape simplification. It's all ellipses and circles. Let's see what's going on with the ear. The ear is moving behind this part of the hat. This ear is moving this way like that. So we're going to watch these ears on this head turn. Look how the chest is busting up. Alright, I'm going to consolidate this drawing now. I'm going to just keep these things as is. Right. So this particular frame here is what changes everything about this walk. This walk has got a double bounce in it, but it's also a strut. A strut often has a double bounce, but this is a very special kind of strut, and only when I put in the breakdowns are you going to see what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to have to just leave it here for the time being, because I want to move on to the other steps. But when we look at how we break this walk down even further, you're going to see just how much appeal and life has gone into this thing here. It's just, as Silver Sun used the word, it's just so charming, you know. incredibly charming. Silver Sun is in the chat as we are doing this stuff. Silver Sun has really upped his game. His drawings are really starting to come together now. Very good stuff. Put these in here. I can be a little bit loose with that shoe there. I'm not going to take the drawing too much further. Alright, so then we're going to come down like that. Let's see if is there anything else. No, I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so now we've got this pose. Okay, so the foot has to come down now. So this has to become a down next. So we have, do we have next panel? Yes, we do. Right, so now this is quite simple. After that big movement, we just want to bring this foot down. Let me see what's happening with the rest of the body. Nothing much, just a slight turn in the head hair. See, this is where we're doing the slow in, right? We're literally just slowing in with this guy. So I'm just going to put little markers here for me to know that not much is happening, right? It's very, very subtle. Again, a big movement followed by a very slow kind of, seems to be something on the trouser leg that happens there. So this is something I have to be quite careful about as I'm doing this. This arm gets a little bit thinner, like this. And this foot stays intact. Again, we're dealing with silhouette hair, so I can test the overall motion. Right, so we've got, see, these are just the keys. So that big movement definitely needs some breakdown to it, but I'm saving that for later so we can see how that works. But let's just have a quick scrub through that first step, right? So we can already see, even without the breakdown, just how appealing that first step is with that exaggerated kick out, right? Right, so now let me quickly just draw this frame in, and I can just use the previous image for that matter to do this one. And the other thing is it really is about, you know, animation is a form of filmmaking. Filmmaking is a form of storytelling. So the person who talked about story was dead right in some aspect. But then there are different disciplines. That's why when you tell a story, you hire people, right? And you bring people with their expertise. You know, you want a good actor to portray your character. You want to make it believable, so you'll need an art director and a production designer who will know a lot about history and cinematography and stylistic art. You need a set dresser, you need a costume designer, you need all these kind of people in order for you to tell the story to the best of your ability. The problem with people who like to draw as a hobby, they think, oh well, I'll just draw it all. And you can draw it all and be a one-time filmmaker like that, but then that what my channel is about, what I'm doing here, isn't so much about just just helping people just quickly just make something and put content out there for whatever reason. It may be for very genuine reasons. It may be for just I want traction on Instagram and I want to grow a following and I want to be popular. But this is about, isolating one area of the one craft of the art form and taking it to its highest level. That's what AMB Animation, Real Animator training is all about. It's expressing hand-drawn animation at its highest level and helping you and those of you who want to do that know how to do that. Right. So that's that one. Again, it looks tight what I'm doing, but it's not. It's really loose. But I'm not able to. Now this is interesting, right? So we have got a really nice kind of, although like this is the down becomes the up, right? So there's no before he does it, before he goes into his down pose, right? Now this could be considered a breakdown, but I want to do it here because I'm just too excited about it, right? So I should have saved this for perhaps when we're doing breakdowns, but I just like it. I just like what I see here too much. He basically comes up high and it gives him this acting, because what he's doing is he's trying to pretend to the thing that he thinks is watching him. He's trying to pretend that he's not aware of it, right? So he's walking away, minding his own business. So the acting here is he's really trying to sell the idea that I'm minding my own business kind of thing, right? So here he's kind of like looking up, the hat coming up this way. I really enjoy doing these, one because I learn a hell of a lot from them, and two, I'm giving YouTube something that people pay thousands of dollars for on CalArts, which is I'm giving you like a masterclass seminar studying great animation and explaining to you about how it's done and what's going on when we're looking at it. You're watching me draw it at the same time. So YouTube actually has its it's actually great, which is why I love the era we live in now. I would have to have the kind of information that you're able to get nowadays on YouTube when I was trying to learn would be unthinkable, but here it is, so it's great. Right, so here he's kind of putting his arms behind his leg. I want to get this pose right. There's a little bit of a stretch. This is a stretch, right? Squash and stretch. So anticipation, law of anticipation. We got the up pose, exaggeration, squash and stretch going on here, down here, but now another stretch pose up here like that. So 1, 2, 3, 1. That's right. I'm gonna draw this in. Let me see if there's anything in the chat, any question in the chat while I'm drawing in this pose. Bum, bum, bum. Charlene Giles, good to see you. Thank you to Charlene for all of your amazing donations. If you want to help me like Charlene does, you can visit ambaniimation.com and you can donate to me there. It'll be much appreciated. Thank you, Charlene. I really appreciate that. Well, it was Fred Moore who redesigned Mickey's ears in perspective. Possibly Fred Moore. Fred Moore had a lot to do with the new Mickey Mouse design, because in 1940 they wanted to do the Sorcerer's Apprentice for Fantasia. They wanted to beef Mickey up to make him more expressive, as they were trying to tell a story there that they wanted it to be a more expressive Mickey without two dots as eyes. And although I do like that original two dots as eyes Mickey, not the god awful thing that they've tried to do nowadays, where they've got the two dots as eyes but they've got none of the drawing appeal. It's just designed to be manipulated by a manipulator, not animated by an animator, right? So that was quick. There we go. So we just consolidated that. Right, so we've come up. Now, as we come up, we're going to go down again, right? So there's going to be a down. Now, I'm wondering, is it a down pass position? Almost. No, it's a straight up down. It's a straight up down because he straightens his leg into a double bounce walk. How am I doing for time? 1 hour 30. We're doing all right. It's my pleasure, Charlene. And I have to say, it's Charlene, I'm so grateful for the support that Charlene gives me. And I'm always going to give. And I like giving, making these YouTube streams anyway. But it's just, it just makes me, it's just very, very helpful. And when I come to create content like this, it just helps me say, okay, well, it puts me in even more of a giving mode, because that's what it is. The law of the law of compensation. What you put in, you get out. So if you're enjoying today's stream and the thoroughness of it, and as I said, this is it's not quite a library stream, but it's a library worthy stream, particularly of the edutainment section. But I'm just going to leave this for you guys free on YouTube. Because I think it's good. This kind of information should be out there. So now he's gone into an up, but he's gone into a down position here. So here we have the down position, the classic. When you do a walk, you have a down. So we have that going on there now. The ears are rather intelligently hidden behind the hat, like that. This goes here. Then we have the eyes coming here like this, and the nose down here. So again, here we're keeping the head looking up as his body's looking down, because that helps the whole follow through of the head. What I'm going to do here is, to save myself some time, I'm going to bring his head down even more. Let me save this. So now the chest is busting out. Look how, we're constantly keeping this bean-like body, but it's just so appealing as we're hiding the arms behind like that. some people actually, although like I'm making a study of another animator's work, some people actually like to follow along with me and draw. These videos aren't really designed to be follow along because I'm just drawing too fast. But I guess people pause the video and they like to follow along with me while I do this. And if you want to do that, obviously not when it's live, but if you want to do that, this video is staying up here, and you're most welcome to do that if you feel it helps you. Helps you get a better understanding of the charm of these cartoon shapes, and you've got the added benefit of my explanation about why those shapes are going there and what's the reason for that. So we've got the nose. It's all very, very straightforward. It's just a head turn. And I showed that shape of the body, which is just sliding across, but we just make it go up and down, and obviously put the walk action in, but then we add this big broad thing, and it's gonna really help sell it when I add the breakdowns in there. Right, so let's now go into the pass position. Now, is that the pass position? I'm gonna say this is the pass position. Wow, this is a tricky one. This is a tricky one. I'm gonna do this as a pass position because I'm just gonna save it, and then we're gonna do a whole load of breakdowns because this is extremely cartoony. Let me just figure out what's happening. Is he just okay? He's just moving back up again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the one beyond first, right? Right, so his head has come right up. So his head's at the highest point here. That's what I want to do. So look at what's happening, right? So the nose is here, the nose is here, right? So it's almost, these noses are just a slight, the head is almost in the same place. So we're arcing. It's very important to get that up arc. So I've got the up here, I've got the down here. Normally we do the pass position, right? But because this walk is so different, right, I'm going to be doing the up next, because otherwise my pass position is going to have a bumpy arc on it. So I need to define the head and define the body path first. Now this is a very fun pose, right? So we now have this foot, right, coming out like that on us. That's kind of turning away to the other side. I can be loose and with that foot. I'm not really going to focus on trying to tie that down. I've got too much stuff to do, so this is like this, and this foot. This is the importance of silhouette study, right? So then you can just start piecing in the foreshortening, right? And suddenly we've got the foot coming out on itself. Then the more and more we draw this guy's head, right, the more and more we get better at it, right? Build those brain cells. So the nose comes up. Again, we've got the eyes following that thing that they always do. Man, this is such a nice piece of animation. It really is. It's funny how it took me so many years to fully appreciate these shorts. There's always feature animation, you know, for me. Oh, feature animation, you know. But the thing is as time's passed and I have no interest in what they call animation nowadays, I've never considered it animation. I've considered it automation or digital puppetry or puppetry, 2D puppetry, 3D puppetry. So I need to look somewhere to get my kicks. So I'm looking at the old shorts, and boy, are they great. Boy, are they full of animation gold. Well worth looking at. You know. So if I've just opened one person's eyes to this stuff, you know, with this stream, to go away and like say, wow, these old 1950s, 1940s Mickey Mouse shorts, they really had some outstanding animation, then it would have been worth it. You know, I remember Richard Williams once talking about how when Bambi was released and he was a pretentious art student, he just thought it was all sentimental mush. Then when he became an animation enthusiast and wanted to learn animation, and he started mixing with animators, he watched Bambi and he was on his hands and knees in awe, thinking, how did those guys do that? It's insane. That's kind of like what I'm feeling about these old Mickey Mouse cartoons. For so many years I'm like, it's just Mickey Mouse. Yeah, it's just Donald, Mickey Mouse, and Goofy. I kind of knew that Donald waving his fists about and all that was all good, but it's just Donald Duck. It's just Mickey Mouse. You know, I want to see the features, and you know, just now I'm like, wow, how blind was I, right? So this comes up here like this and down. So I'm going to put in some breakdowns after that. I'm not going to put the passing position in just yet, right? I feel I can move to the next step. Boom. Right, which is what I will do. So there's interesting breakdowns to put in at the moment. Let me just save this. Let me see how we're doing in the stream. Caleb Colon, how are you? Congratulations on persisting with Instagram. You put a lot of hard work into your work. And if you are Caleb Colon, or if I'm not mixing you up with someone else, and now you're getting the kind of, you know, you deserve more, but you're getting a lot of views, more views than you used to have. I'm really happy for you. Danny and friends. Okay, people just talking amongst themselves. I'll come and have a look at that chat towards the end. Let me persist with this animation that we're studying. Right, so we've still got some breakdowns to do, but at the moment the first two steps we have are hair like this. So we have this one and then this one. You can already see the bounce in a step even without the breakdowns, right? But isn't that nice, right? So we've got another step to do here, right? Before we move on to this. Look at this pose here. I love it, man. Look at that girl leg there. It's, you know. So let's go in and do that, right? So we're going to do the down position. So again, I'm going to break this. This is broken down very similar to the other one. So I'm just going to come in here and just plant his foot on the ground. So this foot gets planted on the ground. Right. This really is not a key or even possibly a breakdown. It could be an in-between, but I'm emphasizing it as a because it's helping me understand this animation at this point, right? So I'm doing this frame, I'm drawing this frame, saying I'm focusing on extremes and keys, and then we're going to do breakdowns. But in hindsight, looking at these frames, they're probably just in-betweens. but because I wanted his contact to be like the traditional contact poses, where his feet were actually, these may be the original keys, and I did in-betweens because I wanted the underside of his foot. So as I made my extremes, I picked those ones, but it's probably these were what I'm calling here. These were actually the keys, which we slowed into, and I've kind of like picked the wrong one to start with because I was going with the more conventional contact poses. So if you're wondering why I'm just doing the next frame and it's hardly any different from the previous one, it's because I need his foot planted down on the ground before I can judge what I want to do with the next one. So it's all good, you know. It also it helps. It's like a favor timing wise, so it helps because I'm not doing all the in-betweens. It helps you see and judge it helps you see and judge the timing of the whole walk a little bit. So I'm just gonna bring this forward ever so slightly like that. All right. I'm gonna bring this mouth this way, this, put these eyes here. I'm just giving myself a map to look at this stuff, and then I'm going to consolidate it. So you see how that one little thing helps, right? Let's consolidate it again. If you're enjoying this content, you don't have to be like Charlene and support me with donations. I'm gonna keep thanking Charlene for that because that's very much appreciated, Charlene. You can press the like or subscribe because a lot of that stuff is dependent on how many people will get to see this information, right? And if you care about people learning stuff that'll help them become good, then yeah, just like and subscribe or drop a comment in the comments of the video after the live is over and all that kind of stuff. Even if it's just to say thank you, or even if you want to tell me that you think I'm full of crap, you know, just drop a comment and it'll all help, you know, it all helps. So this ear I'm gonna move back like that. Okay, so we're busting this chest out because I now know that these are keys. Working a little bit more at this drawing. I want to get this foot plant right because the rest of his walk is kind of dependent on that. There we go. Bum, 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 bum. All right, that's nice. Now we're going to do the same thing, right? So before we go into the down, we're going to go into an up, right? To emphasize the double bounce walk. It's so cool as I'm just slowing it in, slowing it down like that. Right, so this thing comes up, his chest busts up high. So when you're watching this video, I don't have time to keep doing it, to keep making those red scribbly things to show the shape representation. I want you, like, these videos aren't one-time watches. You don't have to watch it. You can watch it in double speed. You can jump around a bit if you've already watched it. But it's important you watch it again at certain points and you remember certain things that I've said, right? Because otherwise you're going to miss things. So I talked about the shape of this body, right? And and I kept trying to show you at some point when we were doing it, look at how all this animation is the shape of this body moving. So as I'm doing this shape again, even when you're looking at it here, just bear in mind what it is, right? And how it's still keeping that shape. It's like a wave, and how the back arm is opening and closing to create this negative space into the whole thing, right? So I want you to remember that, because when you do animation, even if it's animation that seems really exaggerated and over the top like this stuff, I want you to think about how constant it all is. There isn't as much movement as you think there is. It's just choice movement. They're moving the right things along a certain arc, and at different, putting in, there's not even much follow through, overlap and drag, just subtle little elements of it, right? But it feels so bouncy and so exaggerated, which is why it's just an absolute masterpiece of animation. It really is. So another thing, somebody earlier mentioned about, hand-drawn animation takes so long, it takes so much time to do things this way. Again, I countered that by saying, well, what do you want to spend your time doing? I mean, a lot of people spend time watching Game of Thrones or Stranger Things or whatever, The Witcher, whatever's big. I don't know what's big on Netflix. I don't care. And then they go into forums and they talk about it. They talk about it with their friends, so even more time and energy is put on it. So reevaluate what you think is a waste of time. But the other thing is, even when it comes to not doing your own stuff, right? I highly recommend, and I'm so happy to see Real Animator Training Library members, possibly because they see me doing it a lot, are now utilizing their spare time to make studies from classic animation or animation that they like or animation that they've been inspired by to help themselves move forward. Because what the training library does is it gives you fundamental skills and abilities, so that when you do stuff like this, you understand what you're doing. You're not just blindly copying. Like when I'm doing this, I understand what a extreme is, what a breakdown is, what the fundamental laws. I haven't talked about arcing so much here, but arcing, why, for example, am I doing this up pose? Because I know his head's going to arc in a certain way, like a bouncing ball, right? I know about the 4 different poses that go into the walk. I know the pass position, the down, the up. You know all these things, so you can pick your extremes, pose to pose, straight ahead. All these laws, and you know what you know, so you know how to go about studying in order to garnish the nutrients from a process like this. It's just not a copying exercise. Copying, you'll develop something, but look at that. What a pose. What a pose. My God. Right, so we're going to do the down again here. So here he's going to come down. Now I'm going to use the other image as my kind of help for the height of the down. He's quite low. I'm going to plonk it halfway in there, like that. So again, we got this shape which has remained constant throughout this, how that leg is in line with that leg. But now, as he's picking this back leg up, man, what a pose. So he's picking the back leg up like this, and this comes out like that. Then we have the rear arm here like this, and the head is going to be looking even more sky high because it's all down, right? So look how long that under nose is. You see, when you draw Mickey Mouse, you don't often think of his under nose being so long, and the smile is almost coming back on itself, right? So it's almost like a shape like that, where his smile. So even when you learn about the secret science of shape simplification, your hand-eye coordination becomes infinitely better because you are you're aware of all of these things. Right, so we have the hat coming back on itself like this. It's also, I mean, people talk about how much time something like, I mean, you gotta love drawing and you've gotta love animation to do something like this. It's a commitment, you know, it's an absolute commitment to just think of it as a hobby, and now you've done enough of that, so it's time for Nintendo now, man. I've done my drawing for the day, I gotta do Nintendo now. You know, it's just like, you know, no, it's like you gotta love this stuff. You know, I'm gonna watch the game. You know, I've done the drawing, I'm gonna watch the game. This is the life. This is the artist's life. You know, hours in the studio. That's what it is. Passion, hours, time spent in the studio. And you gotta, like me, I don't know how long the stream's been going on for. Not even 2 hours. Not bad. Octavio. Okay, let me read Octavio's question while I consolidate this drawing. Octavio says, I don't know why Dylan draws. If you're still online, I imagine Dylan draws laughing at my... It's time for Nintendo, man. AMB. Hello, I got a question. I found that my drawings sometimes lack construction. According to my supervisor, what should I study? I'm aware it's all about shapes, but something hasn't clicked yet. Octavio, well, what I remember of your drawings, let me go back to doing this. Let me save this first. What I remember of your drawings, Octavio, because what happened is you worked your way through the library, and then you were starting to make your own little film, which was great, and then bang, you were suddenly found yourself being employed on Animate, which was great. You know, Real Animator Training Library served its purpose in that regard. But the learning doesn't stop when you get a job, right? So, as Mr. Leon will tell you, Mr. Leon, having worked on Ninja Turtles and, you know, I forgot the name of that Disney show he just finished up on, was, if he can add that in there. So, but he's wanting to learn, and he's still like, the learning doesn't stop. And a lot of people think, it's funny, I got a message from somebody the other day. I don't know who it was, but they said, oh, I used to really look up to you, but you said something and it hurt me. I want you to know that I've strived to be an animator, and I'm working in anime now, and I consider myself a real animator, and I've shown you blah, blah, blah. Thinking, well, why are you messaging me then? Obviously, you know, good or bad, I've had something to do with your success, mate. But anyway, never mind. So the thing about going on into work in the industry, Octavio, is the learning never stops. So you might be drawing a lot on the job. You might find yourself drawing a lot on the job. Now, anime thankfully involves, well, depending what kind of anime it is. While the animation in anime is never great, what it has is extremely strong drawing. So hopefully you should be picking up a lot of nice drawing. Man, that foot is even higher. I'm not sure, I'm going to have to change this. I haven't done this right, so I'm gonna so that so you should be picking up some good things from working on those projects, but they also need to be turned out quite fast. So there'll be a lot of use of tracebacks, a lot of held drawings, and a lot of things like that. So you won't really get the opportunity to draw as much variation as you'd like to. So you may just draw a character's face, and that in itself might be a really strong drawing with all his shading and all his all that. But then after doing the character's face, right, you'll leave the mouth on a separate level. You'll have all the, so you've just got this one drawing that you'll then just slide into this position and change and then you've got the mouth on a different level or something like that. And that unfortunately you don't get to practice as much. So that's why, while anime drawing can be good, it doesn't mean that you're going to be drawing as much. You're just concentrating on finishing the scene as fast as you can, getting it approved with as little feedback and changes possible. So the thing is anime is very, except for the faces, which are extremely flat and cartoony, and they've got no nose and all that kind of stuff, but their bodies are heavily based on strong anatomy, and the anatomy is something you need to know. But the way I teach you anatomy is real anatomy, right? So what your man is telling you about construction, he's probably telling you about all those, Marvel comic kind of things where you kind of insert the rib cage in here and you've got the pelvis in here, where you then, anime like to make the pelvis and the upper thigh where the bone comes in here in one flow like that, and then work the legs on top of it, right? So you've got to, Octavio, you've got to make sure that you understand, okay, knowing anatomy helps here because the bicep comes under, but so you take this basic, generic Marvel comic thing of just having cylinders, right? But you've got the knowledge, so your drawing should improve fast, right? So say I'll just got this 10 a penny kind of Udemy crap that people think is a great way to draw a figure, right? People probably watching this now are probably thinking, that's great, man. No, it ain't. It's fucking shit, right? So the thing is what makes it great, right, is so you have your figure like this. You understand where the deltoids are coming. You understand the sternocleidomastoid. You understand the trapezius comes at the back, right? You understand that in the scapula you've got a bicep, right? And the tricep is up here. So you can start, you understand the latissimus here, right? So you can start, as long as you haven't forgotten all that stuff, right? You can start making, like the sartorius muscle is here. So you can start making that thing more correct. A lot of people, unfortunately, they're very they're strong draftsmen, and I see it. We've got somebody in the group whose drawings I really like, but they've got that they've got an anime style, but they've got this flat kind of, what they do is appealing, but it's got this kind of naive kind of look where they then draw the pants and draw the pockets, and and it looks professional. It looks like a kind of Naruto or One Piece kind of thing. But the people who draw Naruto and draw One Piece, they don't do it illustratively and intuitively like the way you see me doing it here. Well, maybe they do, but they've got the anatomical know-how to kind of pull it together. And so these people that have all these big boots and all that, some of their drawings are like what we call hit and miss, because and this is kind of like, if you forgive me, Octavio, your drawings are a little bit hit and miss like that, right? Where you're kind of using the anime shapes and but you're missing the anatomy. You don't want it to be too anatomy. You want to balance the anatomy with this, which is why I love this kind of cartooning, because it teaches you how to do that. It teaches you how to balance these things. All right, so I've kind of deviated. It's eating into my time, but it's a pleasure to have you on the stream, Octavio. So hopefully that helps you a little bit with that question. Sunrise Animation, thank you. I'm a 3D animator junior, but I love to watch your streams from time to time while I'm working. My pleasure, thank you very much, but you're totally right. You have to love animation to do it. Yep. I find when animating, it's a fight between I'm work too hard and not hard enough. When is the art done, no matter how real it looks? Can it look realer with patience when I'm wasting time on a frame? Jonathan, like anyone would care if Mickey's hat shifted slightly as he walked when he added the details. A waste of time. Depends. Depends who you are. I would care because I love animation. It's like people who are masters of the craft care. That's why the craft gets elevated, because there are people who care. There are people who are interested in this medium. There are people who want to take it to the next level, who are not just easily satisfied. It's all about your own standards. So I'm not here to expect you to live up to my standards, and I'm not here to live up to your standards. What I am here to do is to share my knowledge and help those who want to up their game and who see themselves at the highest standard. Now, the other thing you mentioned, which I can give some constructive feedback to, hopefully, is the thing about knowing when to stop. The thing is to not be such a control freak, and to understand that everything you're doing is a process. There is no end, right? You're going to keep getting better. You're going to keep getting better. So just let go of the reins and accept where you are. If that's the best you can get it, don't keep refining it, because it's not going to look that much different, right? Because you're not physically capable. You can't force it. There's a great book called Power versus Force, okay? Understand that you're a wave of emotion. You're a wave happening right now. That's your life. Your life is a wave. Like all the little cells in your body are like little droplets, and it's getting bigger and bigger. And then, the time will come for us all when it'll go down back into the constant sea or ocean. And that's what each and every one of us existence is. So you can't fight the current however much you want. Just go with that flow and know that you're in this for the long term. And as time passes, I promise you, Jonathan Franklin, I promise you, my friend, as time passes, you're going to be doing things you thought you were never capable of doing. I certainly see that for myself. I've seen that for other people who have been following me, who have been training from my program. Even Octavio, I mean, he's in the animation industry now. He thought he made it. Maybe he didn't think he made it. I'm just using that as an example. But here he is again. What can I do? I need to get better. So it never stops. Just go with it and enjoy. Right. Now I'm going into one of my talking modes, and we don't want that. We want to continue with this. So let's kick that foot right out there. Now this is a good one. So he's gonna go up again. So he's gone down, so he's gone up, he's gone down, and he's gonna go up again. So between here and here, we're going to have his head go up. Let me just watch how far up he goes. See, I don't want to lose the flow. So he goes up here, right? That feels good anyway. So He's gonna go up here. The thing is this is what this is all about. What I've set out to do is I've set out to express and help people express hand-drawn animation at its highest standard. So animation is a huge brush. There are things that I'm going to do that are going to be in alignment with your unique goals and visions, and there are things that I'm going to do that are not going to be in alignment, and that's okay, because it's all about personal standards. And I'm not trying to say, well, you have low standards and I have high standards. That's not the case. I was talking about this to my wife the other day. We were talking about the film The Little Mermaid. She was telling me how much she loves it. She was telling me how much it's her favorite Disney animation, and what do I think of. I said The Little Mermaid for me is one of the last great performance movies in terms of character performance. I think the animation in it is incredible, but I think the art direction and the production design and is generally quite poor, some of the poorest. But it doesn't matter because it's such a wonderful movie. It's so, and she's like, what do you mean poor? What do you mean? I said, well, it looks almost Saturday morning. But what stops it from being Saturday morning is the quality of the animation. It is incredibly high. Like what's appealing about the film is the performances. When you see Ursula the Sea Witch talk and act, you totally want to see more of that character. You're like, wow, what a great character. When you see Ariel like combing her hair with the fork, and you see Sebastian, it's all great acting. It's an actor's movie. It's a performance movie. It's like Disney's The Jungle Book. You see Baloo the bear dancing and his disguise coming off, King Louis skipping through his hands and all that. The backgrounds are good. They're like watercolor kind of thing, but it ain't no Lady and the Tramp. It ain't no Sleeping Beauty. But so it's very much down to the performances. It's an animator's movie. It's animation. But then I said, but then you look at Studio Ghibli movies, or Ghibli or whatever. Don't know what people pronounce it, right? I said the animation in those movies is very lackluster. I mean, quite laughably bad at times. You've got like Spirited Away, those big fat tears going down her eyes. It's so poor. It's so unobserved. But then at the same time, those movies feel so special. Those movies feel like, if you look at a still of that movie, it looks way more cinematic than The Little Mermaid, right? So it's the art direction, it's the production design. I mean, you got films even like A Whisper of the Heart or all those kind of things, which not the most interesting films, but the city at night feels like a real city with the steam, and the animation's very average. It's very just nuts and bolts. But so what I mean about is it's not about the standards. You've got low standards and I've got high standards when it comes to animation. It's about where your priorities are. It's about what floats your boat. What are you trying to do, right? Me, I'm very much, I'm into art direction. I'm into good quality filmmaking, but I'm very much an animator. I'm very much a performer with a pencil, right? I don't necessarily act as a human being, but I'm very much into animation, like the craft of animation, animated characters moving and expressing and performing to the best of their ability within their medium, which is animation, not trying to parrot live action, not simply looking at live action references. I mean, I wasn't watching it, I have no interest in watching it, but my wife was watching Soul on the plane, and I was thinking the bits with the human aspects, they could have been live action. There was no point to this film being out. I mean, they were trying to do all these subtle little things, and the faces, because I wasn't listening, I was just watching her screen. The faces looked so dead to me. They just like, because they're just trying to give them these little live action nuances. Animation is animation. You know, we have the laws of exaggeration and appeal for a reason. Now, if you're going into the realms of comic book style animation with the likes of Anime and Batman and all that stuff, even that, you know, the staccato timing of anime has its appeal. Like, you know, you see the fight scenes and stuff like that. It's not, it's when it's at its best, it doesn't feel live actiony. It may feel live actiony in its production design and art direction and values, which gives it that edge. But when it comes to the movement, with those staccato timing and the whole fight Sakuga fight thing, it's that weird choppy timing and the flow that gives it that appeal. It's very animated, you know. So we've gone down, we've come up, and now we're going to go down again, right? So we've gone down again, and then there's a nice, between here and here, where I'm going to put in one breakdown, I think just halfway. I'm going to make this one up because we've got a mega slow in. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it on thirds, right? So this particular thing, I'm not necessarily going to really look, but what I am going to do is think about the arc, right? So I'm going to keep, rather than have it just go up like this, I'm going to push the arc here because I do notice that happening, right? So we have this going on here like this, right? So I'm going to push this 2/3 of the way, almost. Change that. Well, let's put it on half because I started putting it on half. I'm going to look at the end position. Unfortunately, it's these boring slow-ins that can make or break an animation, right? So we're going to straighten these legs up. So we've got this kind of wave effect in his body like that. And this shoe comes down. Like this. This is here. There we go. Right. So before I go and draw that drawing in, I'm just going to scrub through these keys and extremes. So we can see that even without the breakdowns, which I'm going to put in, because this walk already feels great with him kicking his legs out, but we're missing a lot of what makes this even better, right? So that's already quite good, right? But I'm gonna push it. We've got enough time. This stream isn't taking nearly as long as I thought it was. We're 2 hours 9 minutes in. Exactly, Silver Sun. Mickey will be public domain next year. I don't know if he is. I don't know if that'll happen. They'll find a way to stop it from being public domain. Thank you, Caleb Colon. Just reading Charlene's comment. I love the passion she has for her own work and keeping the memory of her animals alive. Right, so let me just finish this drawing here, and then we're going to go and look at breakdowns. This is great, actually. This stream has gone a lot more fluider than I thought. There's a lot of drawing to be done in this stream, and this character is deceptively hard, it has to be said. He looks very easy, but I've often said one of the hardest things for an animator to do is to animate a bouncing ball, because it's a circle, and then we're constantly judging the circle. Yep, the hat is not to volume, which it never was, to be honest. It would be something, that was a comment that gentleman made. I think his name's Jonathan. Would it matter? It will. You see, it doesn't matter for me, because I'm just doing a rough on a live stream. But if I was then going to finish this, I would have to tidy it up. And one thing I will say to you, Jonathan, if you've seen, we've just passed the 2-hour mark. What are we? 2 hour 20. I've been talking a bit, so it's taken 20 minutes to suddenly come into this, but once you know what you're doing, once you acquire the skill set, this stuff can be knocked out really fast and at high quality. And then if you have people to help you to finish it, to tidy it up, to clean it up, then it'll be even faster, right? And again, that's down to like your own personal expenses. Like I'm pushing to make my project. I made Little Red all on my own, but now I'm bringing in somebody. We're doing Alpha Man in a more conventional way, which is another project of mine. So we're getting a script down first, right? So a lot of my own investment money has gone into that. So you got to think about, where are you channeling your resources towards your passion? It's not just time is a valuable resource, but so is money. So if you have it and it'll help speed things up, then use it. All right, so now we have I'm gonna take this back a little bit, and we're gonna look at putting in some more breakdowns. Right, so between here and here. All right, first before I go and do extra breakdowns, I'm gonna do the main thing about these walks, right? So this is the kick out. So here, between here and here, he's gonna kick his leg out, right? And even though he's extending his leg, right, you see, this is where I'm learning stuff, because I would have made his leg long, but this animator has made his leg short on the extension, and he's playing with the aspect that this foot is foreshortening, right? Well, get that down like that. So I need to get this right. This is small. Right, so you can see that there's going to be some kind of rotation in this foot. He doesn't just kick it out. He rotates it, right? So this. Okay, so then this comes up like this. And he hasn't rotated his body out. So he gets thinner when he rotates it out. Alright, like that. Here he's almost on a tiptoe, so he comes up on a tiptoe a little bit here. And I'm going to watch what happens to his head. Do they throw in something there? No. The head stays in this position, so no in-betweening. It stays, it doesn't turn, right? So it stays in relation to this position here like this. So we keep the head in relation to that. The hat comes up, the ear comes up, this comes forward, this comes up. Let's just look at that. Yep. So we have a rotation in the foot like that. Okay, I'm gonna get this head sorted out. So I'm gonna stick. I've got to really concentrate now because I'm using the previous frame. So while I'm looking at the actual animation, I do have to sort of rely on my own marks here, which aren't going to necessarily be 100% accurate to what I'm studying, because obviously I'm in betweening my stuff, which has been pure hand-eye coordination based on what I see, which is not necessarily his definite arc. So I'm just having to throw my own. So this hat's going to change its position angle slightly. Ear here, the chest is busting out. The arm comes in on itself now, like that, as we kick the leg out. Trouser comes more back on itself, some drag in that trouser, like that. And this moves this way. So I really had to work this drawing a little bit more because it's so important, right? So then we're going to turn the foot there. Now I'm going to look, there's in-betweens as his foot turns, but I'm not going to focus on that. I'm going to think about the next. That's an interesting looking mouth shape he has there. I'm going to do that drawing because it's so strange, right? So this is a breakdown drawing, and look at what happens to Mickey's head here. So this is the other thing that I think Jonathan was his name, asked me about what's perfect. Again, this is an illusion, right? So some of the drawings you're going to do, they've got to be the way they are. So things are going to look wrong, but the design has to work, right? So Mickey's head hair is going to look very strange, and that's why I'm choosing this drawing, because so his nose is up here like this, all right? And then we've got the usual Mickey where you're thinking that's not so strange, but they've got this really low mouth, right? Because if you look at the underside of his nose, it's quite long, which I've been talking about, right? It's quite long. So this angle is going to be not the most flattering angle, right? And you can kill yourself trying to make it look flattering, right? But it's what helps sell the movement. Now he's got this eye here like this, and a little bit of his other eye here like that, with a little bit of the eyeball, right? That's it. That's the head movement, right? That's the head turn, right? So it isn't about like it's a bad drawing, right? It's a drawing that has to be an intermediate drawing, right? That is going to move very quickly. That has to be. But it's not that, oh, it's somehow the quality has gone down or this and that. It's probably because that's the character design. That's the way they've worked out, because he, you know, his ears are these flat floating balls on his head. They've got to work out a way to make this character create an illusion that he's three-dimensional with 2 dimensions, which is why I love this art form. So sometimes you're going to have very strange looking frames, right? So now this leg goes out here like this as his foot. It's now moving in dimension, right? So look at the arc, right? So the foot is turning around. You see how much fun this whole walk is? How cool it is? And as the foot's going that way, right, his head's turning this way. So it's a lot of fun. It's tremendous fun. And that's why I absolutely love what I do, because even when I'm not working on my own stuff and I'm studying, right, I'm having a great time, because I can't tell you how much fun I personally think doing this is. This is work for me because I'm live streaming. I'm keeping my YouTube channel alive. This is my work. This is how I generate awareness about what I'm doing, and people join the Real Animator Training Library, the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation. This is how I continue that momentum. It's also how I improve my own abilities at animation by studying animation law in applicable, where, you know, examples of it at its highest level. But man, I'm enjoying myself immensely, right? Now, is there another breakdown that I can put here? Bum, 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 bum. Not really, it's just 2 frames. Let me see, because I don't want to put in every frame. Let me just see how that one step works as I scrub it, just so we can see. Yeah, that works, right? I don't need to put in, I might put in one in between here and here, and I'll do that at the end first if there's time. But we can see that's the main thing. I want you to see the turning of that leg, the dimensional turning of that leg out as he makes that walk away to the other side. Right, so let's get moving. Let's move on the next aspect. So we go up, we go into the up, we go into the down pass. Shall I do the passing position or shall I leave it? No, we're going to kick that out. That leg kicks out. Oh wow. So as that leg kicks out, yeah, no, I've got to do more here. This is great. This is great stuff. Okay. So we're going to put in another frame here. Wow, this is awesome. Okay. So the next frame is going to be like his head is going to lower, and I'm going to do this on thirds, right? So again, what makes me able to kind of do this is my understanding of animation, to be able to do a live study and make it look convincing, so I can just quickly make decisions like that. So I'm going to put this on thirds, right? So this is 1/3 of the way, this particular aspect of his head. Like this, and the hat is going to be on 1/3. I can leave this nice and straightforward. When it's like a in between, it's kind of straightforward for me, the head, right? So we can have that like that, right? Now this is incredible. Now, wow, how much fun is this? His foot has come all the way up here like this. What a fun, his whole body is obscured by his foot, right? Comes out here like that. We just see his little butt here now with his leg moving like that. Maybe his butt would be a little bit higher there. So that's essentially what it is. And then we've got the just a few more creases in his shoe there like that. I'm not really gonna pay too much attention to the shoe. Right, that's what it is. So his foot comes around, right? Comes up, round. There's one more before it goes down. I'm gonna consolidate this drawing a little bit just so it doesn't stick out too much as we scrub it, just to keep things constant. Like that. So much fun. See, again, this is where I'm doing a lot of learning myself, because as I said, I can do cartoon, but I can't do this kind of cartoon. So I study it so I can do it, right? I would never dare do something like that. That is incredible. Would never dream of it, right? Just gonna see the questions people are asking later. Forgive me for not getting into the questions just yet. I've just got a little bit to do. I found I was speeding through this really quickly, but then when I started talking a little too much, the time started to catch up with me. We'll have a little bit of a Q&A at the end, right? For those who are still wanting to hang around. I'm just gonna get my way through this. This is gonna be a half, so I'm just gonna quickly put this head on a half, right? Put this here like that. What a fun, absolutely awesome character. You know, my soundtrack to animating this would be Now I Had the Time of My Life, because I have. It's absolutely so much fun. This is what, this is why I wanted to be an animator. I mean, this is the thing. Imagine you go to work, you do this for a living, man. Just drawing, it's just making things move, giving them so much appeal, so much life, so much charm. You know, that's what it's all about. You know, as Ursula would say in The Little Mermaid, that's what I live for. You know. Right, so the foot's coming down. We see a little bit of the knee up there. This rear foot is starting to come up on itself again. I can be quite sketchy with that. Right, there we go. His hands are still behind. Right, so bum bum bum. That goes around in a circle like that. So how many did we do there? We did 1, 2, 3, I think. 1, 2, 3. How many have we got here? We got 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm not going to do any more than 3. There are more. There are plenty more frames, but I feel I'm just picking the breakdowns and the choice ones so that you guys can understand the timing better, right? That's what it's all about. Too many people are too concerned with trying to in-between and make it fluid. It's not the in-betweening that makes it good, right? Or even fluid. In-betweening, you know, if you've got a bad arc, it's not going to be fluid. If it's not timed nicely, it's going to be fluid, but it's just going to look bad. You know, it's going to look weightless, or it's going to look slow. In-betweening is not really what you need to focus on when you make these studies, right? Right, so this is going to come down. Now we've got the next little bit here where we go up, then we go into the pass position, and there's one final kick out here. Maybe I might want to I might want to put one breakdown in this little kick out here like that. So let's have this on a half. Actually, I'm not going to put it on a half. I could put it on a half just for the sake of this test, and you wouldn't know any different, but I know after freeze framing that would be 2/3 of the way in, right? So that would be a third, right? Those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, apologies. I've got many of my training library people online who understand all of that. This is going to be this way, and people who regularly watch my streams, you should know what that is by now. So this in here like that. So let's just put a rough. That shoe doesn't really work, but it doesn't matter, it's alright. It'll serve its purpose for the rough. Let's come here like this. We're going to keep his arms there. I'm going to save time, and I'm just going to consolidate this now. That's all good. There we go. Now, while I do the head, I'm going to see what people said. Is there anything revolutionary in new art form? Look at Art Babbitt's writing on Goofy and Bill Tiltlaw's influence. Oh yeah, Edge Deep, educating people. I sit there trying to make it look pretty. You should, though. It's a balance, Jonathan. It's a balance. Don't think, oh, it doesn't have to be pretty because it's on the screen for a short time. You should, right? In my opinion, it's a balance, right? It's something can be designed to have a cheat in it, right? Something can be designed to have a cheat in it, but never cheat, particularly if you're doing anatomical stuff. Don't cheat that, right? That's what some people do, which is why a lot of people like these smear frames and all these kind of things. I personally can't stand it. I like to see a fight scene where I can see the mechanics of the technique. Then I think, wow, that's really been, they've either used live action reference, but also when somebody knows how to animate it because they've really embellished it. They haven't just copied the reference. So it depends what you're doing, if something is so graphic that it needs to be cheated and it looks a bit strange, that's part of the design. But don't, in my opinion, right, get it looking as pretty as you can. Just don't have it looking amateur. That's the only way I can put it, right? You can have stuff that may be a little bit strange, but don't have it looking amateur, right? Right, so before we do that other thing, I'm just going to check out how this is looking. So yeah, this is great. Round. You see how the foot goes around and around like that as we get the double bounce in the step. So all of the things we need, we've got. I'm going to do this one now because his foot's going to go up and around in this one as well. So, okay. So he kicks his foot out. Let's see what the next frame is. Hi Shiva Slump, how are you doing? It's great what you're doing, by the way, trying to set yourself your own task to make your own Disney-esque cat. Really like what you posted in the group. This one is going to start going down. Just going to watch where that foot goes. That's where it goes. All right. So now I'm going to put this on a third, 1/3 of the way. See, cartoon timing, once you realize why we do things on thirds, is just so we can push the slow in and the slow out in places, right? Which is why I talk about, this is a key and then this is a breakdown. Because people who don't really understand timing, right, they'll just plonk things on halves and they'll try to avoid using thirds because they think thirds are hard or whatever. But they're very, very necessary. Very, very necessary in order to push the timing. And it's not just, thirds aren't just there for I want a snappy timing, because you can put things on thirds, as we teach in the basics and intermediate archive of real animator training. You put them on thirds so you can use the gap between them to add extra in-betweens. Don't just leave them like as a third. It's just like you add those extra in-betweens to create a really nice slowing, right? So here his leg is straightening up here, right? So he straightens up and he bends it again. So his arm is out, his chest is still busting out here. And this is why we're doing it on thirds, because we're kind of keeping, because although his leg is bent here, we're kind of keeping his body up while his leg wants to go round and down in the other direction. All right. keep that a little bit. So this is here you see the whole distribution of mass thing, as his head is coming down, but his leg is going up. Like that. So we have his foot. He's got cool shoes. We have his foot going this way. Let's just make sure that the distribution of mass is right on this guy. Yeah. What I'm gonna do here is what the mistake that I've made here is his body should be staying up, and while his head is coming down, his body is up. So I'm going to do a quick adjustment like that, and then I'm just going to heavy it in on top so it keeps that. I'm going to read what EdgeDeep is saying about the legends in the chat. Vladimir Tiltla, Bill Tiltla, Fred Moore, Art Babbitt, all these people, names that you should really know if you are interested in hand-drawn animation, real animation. I mean, I like to put it this way to youngsters who are wanting to learn animation and they don't know these names. I say, if you know the name Kim Kardashian, but you don't know the name Art Babbitt, or Milt Kahl, or Frank Thomas, you know, you need to really think about where you say your passions lie. Even if people say they're not so interested in that kind of animation, it's because of people like that the animation everybody likes exists, right? So a little bit of respect, a little bit of kudos should be given to these people, even if you claim that you don't enjoy that kind of work. There would be no Japanese animation industry to the level. They were heavily inspired by Disney. Atom Boy, all these things. Even Mario itself, giving Disney a big kick up the backside. Look at what Mickey's wearing here. Ever wondered why Mario has those clothes? Mickey was very influential. Disney had its stamp all over the industry, and that's why it's so sad to see this company now, how far it's fallen, where it is literally just trying to be anything but its true self. Completely lost its identity. Right, so here we have the feet coming out like this. This is coming in. So we're nearly done. I'm just going to do one more in between at the very end on the settle, and then I think I've done enough. I was going to think that I may need more, but as I scrubbed through it, I don't think it needs more. I think you people can see what's happened. So the main takeaway is how the cartoon walk, right, that I'm talking about here, it's exaggerated, it's appealing, and it's so full of life, and it's so, you don't get animation, cartoon animation like this anymore. You don't get characters doing great walks anymore. You just post South Park era, you literally get characters just shuffling around, popping into poses. That's considered cartoon animation nowadays. So the whole purpose of the stream was to remind people or open people's eyes or introduce people depending on your age and your awareness, that cartoon animation, you know, has lowered in standard, and it is a shadow of what it used to be, and you have a wealth of information out there free to you on the internet. On YouTube you can watch this, you can freeze frame it like I have done so, and you can study, and you can start entering a whole new world of great quality animation that'll elevate your understanding and remind you of why real animators draw. It's here now. People used to complain to me, not everybody, otherwise I wouldn't still be here. I wouldn't be successfully selling my courses and getting people to study this stuff. But my brand, Real Animator Training, often had people saying, "Oh, are you saying that what we're doing isn't real?" Everything is real to some extent, but I think we know where I'm going with it, right? The fact of the matter is, artificial art, AI, artificial intelligence, AI art is here. People are saying say no to AI art, but I would say to those people, every time you copy and paste an image like a tree, every time you create a brush and copy and paste that brush, every time you use motion tweening, every time you use deformations in your 3D rigs, every time you do all these things, what do you think? Code, intelligence, artificial intelligence is all being involved in all these things. Artificial intelligence is creating these lines to look like thick and thin brush lines. So I'm not even saying that this isn't in some way that, but it's mark making. I'm drawing the marks. So I'm just drawing these marks and I'm showing you these marks. So this is real animation. Every mark is made by me. Every choice is made by me. Yes, I'm studying somebody else's drawings, but this is everything. There's nothing artificial about this, right? I'm not relying or depending on artificial intelligence to aid me in this. So I'm here to help you people that want to draw and animate, and to inspire you and say, look, we are free now. We can do this, and we can do it to the best of our ability, to the highest level. And yes, you'll need an understanding, so courses like mine are a must. If not mine, then somebody else who knows what they're doing. Heaven forbid there's so much garbage out there. But then once you're aware of those fundamentals, you can start learning from these masters, and it's all free. You can slow down this stuff, and it's all 100% free. Now this last frame I'm going to be doing just myself without looking at anything, because I'm just going to create an extra slow in frame here like this. Right. So I love hand-drawn animation. I've dedicated my life to it. Of course I'm going to be biased towards it, unashamedly biased towards it. I'm going to sing its praises. I'm going to give it the love a mother would give to their child. That's hand-drawn animation. Hand-drawn animation is something I have unconditional love for, and something I'm here to constantly express and to connect with and inspire and share techniques with others of a similar mindset. So apologies to those who don't quite see it my way. That's fine. If anything, if I have anything that can help you, it's my pleasure to do that. But you're gonna have to put up, if you want to learn from me, or you want those things for me, you're going to have to put up with my spiel about how great the medium of hand-drawn animation is, how it's, for me, the realest of the real, the only way to animate, right? So this goes along here. Like that. You see, I've stopped watching animated films when they stopped being hand-drawn. Where in terms of American animation, I don't have time to watch much anymore, but like, I don't even like, people say to me, have you seen this? Have you seen Kung Fu Panda? Have you seen Frozen? Have you seen this? I'm like, no. They're like, but you're into animation. And then I realize, oh, I don't regard that as animation. You know, that's just, I just don't, it's like, oh, that's puppets. They're like puppets. Digital puppet animation, like stop motion animation. It's animation, you can call it animation. I'm not going to argue with people who call it animation, but my personal thing is my brain doesn't really regard that. It's like people who don't like abstract art or don't like conceptual art. They like to paint landscapes and portraits. They don't enjoy going to conceptual painting or installations, you know. So people out there could say, well, it sells for millions of dollars, hundreds of millions in some cases, so you certainly can't say that it's not art or it's not painting or it's not drawing, but the person just doesn't identify it as such because that's their own personal take on it. And that's how I am with animation. I don't identify any other thing that isn't hand drawn. I just don't relate to it. I can't. It's not animation for me. I don't see it as animation, so I don't have any interest in it. Right. Whereas hand drawn, that's what it's all about. Right. So here we have the Mickey steps. So it's not fully in between, but we can see how this cartoon walk is occurring. So we start off, as I mentioned, with this shape. Now, I'm not going to do it all the way through, but I want you to watch how this shape, you know, it squashes, it stretches, right? And I'm just going to use that now. When I scrub it, I just want you to see that throughout the whole animation, right? I just want you to see that, because that's what this is, right? It's like a question mark kind of shape, just bending and stretching and bending and stretching, right? And that appealing shape, we then got a double bounce in the walk. So we anticipate by going down, we come up, right? We linger on the up. Then we, instead, when he comes into the contact, rather than going into a down, we go into an up, and then into a down, right? Which is, then we have a pass position, which I haven't drawn in there. Then we come back into an up again. So that's where that nice little double bounce kind of effect is, right? So here we see it here. Come bounce down, up, then up, and then down again, right? So this ball is like bouncing up and down, right? So we have that appeal going on in the steps of the walk there, like that. Squash and stretch is not as much, right? So it's not what you'd think it would be. What there is there's interesting arcs, right? So this these foots, they kick out, but then they're like bouncing balls. They're like the hang time of a bouncing ball, and then they quickly bounce down, right? So they quickly come up and then they quickly go down. So it's all bouncing ball timing. Kick out quick, then linger in the air, hang time, then down. Up, linger in the air, hang time, then down. Right? So it's all offset of each other, right? And then everything from the double bounce is you could say it's a form of follow through, overlap, and drag as well, because it's like a wave going on in the body. So, those are some of the examples. But this whole thing is completely about the 12 laws of animation. So before I come for the Q&A in the chat, let's talk about those laws, right? So the first law is the law of arcing, right? It's all over there. We've talked about it. The arc of the foot going back on itself, the arc of the head going up, the double bounce walks, right? So everything is, arcing, right? Slowing in and slowing out, right? The lingering time, right? The lingering time. So these are the three fundamental laws of movement: arcing, timing, slowing in and slowing out. There are 6 laws of movement, right? As we teach in Real Animator Training Library, right? These are the 3 fundamental laws that all the other laws rest on. So the timing is due to the space between the drawings to create time. So we've got hang time here. Now how's that done? By slowing in and slowing out, right? So here the head is slowing in, and then as it's coming this way, right, it's then slowing out into the next step, right? And then we go in. So that creates this variation in speed. So arcing, timing, slowing in and slowing out, right? Next, we have the other 3 laws of movement. We have got pose to pose and straight ahead, right? So we did this in a very pose to pose way. If you go back to the very beginning of the stream, I did all of the main steps first, and then I kind of gone in between each steps and figured it out the way he figured it out. This is my studying. I did that with straight ahead, right? Which is, I'm just copying his work, but I assume there would have been some straight ahead to work out the mechanics of those swiveling legs, right? So mixture of the both, pose to pose and straight ahead. Then we have what comes from pose to pose and straight ahead is solid drawing, right? Solid drawing is what we do with pose to pose, right? We make sure that although this is rough, and he does start off a little bit big here, and he ends up a little bit constant to this size, it's still fairly solid, right? Because we figured out that we managed it in a pose to pose way. It's fairly solid, right? It feels solid. Solid drawing is occurring. The weight distribution of mass is happening there. Then we have follow through, overlap, and drag, right? So these are the 6 laws of movement: follow through, overlap, and drag. I'm going to throw in one of the laws of life because I consider it a kind of intermediate between law of movement and life, is squash and stretch, right? So we have follow through, overlap, and drag, and squash and stretch. So here there's a squash and stretch going on, right? And then not only do we have, like with his hat and the head dragging down and the nose turning and then going up when the body goes down, follow through, overlap, and drag. We also have the extra bounce in his step, which is caused by the whole follow through, overlap, and drag. The squash and stretch occurs in the bending of his body, and the straightening of his body is the squash and stretch, right? And notice how subtle it is. It isn't over the top, right? So then we move on to the 6 laws of life. So squash and stretch was one of them. Anticipation. Anticipation is another one. Right, so anticipation, he anticipates each step by going down, right? And then even when he's up in the hang time, he anticipates the putting down of his leg with that little swivel like that. And that leads on to the next one, which is what we call primary and secondary action. Primary and secondary action. So the primary action is the character is just walking, right? That's all he needs to do. He needs to be walking, right? And the acting is he's minding his own business. But then we've got the double bounce happening, the swiveling of the leg going around. That's all secondary action to give him attitude and appeal, right? Which then leads on to the next one, which is appeal, and we'll throw in the other one, exaggeration, right? Appeal and exaggeration. Appeal and exaggeration are occurring through the whole acting and mood of the character, the drawing, how I said, like we remember how at the very beginning we did this drawing, and I said this drawing is like a swivel occurring like this, right? It's just a swivel, and then the feet are like a figure of 8, right? This is the appeal of this drawing, right? It's like, it's just appealing. Everything is working. Everything is balancing. It's great. It's not just appeal in the pose. There's appeal in every pose that's happening. Appeal in the acting. It's just appealing, right? Then you have exaggeration. Nobody walks like this, but it feels natural. That's the balance between exaggeration and appeal. This is a cartoon character and it feels natural to him, which is why I keep poo-pooing on modern cartoons, because they just snap into poses, they wiggle their heads and they vibrate their arms, they raise an eyebrow, and they just have, cartoon animation is not cartoon animation anymore. This is cartoon animation, right? The complement of appeal and exaggeration. Nobody walks like this, only an animated character walks like this, right? So that's appeal and exaggeration happening there. The other one is staging. Staging is, difficult to see in this because we're not looking at the context of the scene. It's from the Mickey short, The Little Whirlwind, where he's trying to pick up leaves and the leaves keep jumping away from him. So he realizes this whirlwind is causing it. So he's deciding to pretend he's had enough. He's walking away. He can't pick the leaves up. So now I've told you that, it makes the whole scene even richer, right? So that's the beauty of staging, right? And then the framing would be better than what I've done it, because I've just focused on the character. And then you've got the shot composition and how you go from this shot to the next shot. But each shot in these shorts was like a little scene in itself, like before it cut to the next one. And that was the beauty of these shorts. They were like great little one-shot animation scenes. And go watch this particular scene. It's great. There's so much more than just this walk. It's just gold. I can't talk enough how great this piece of animation is. So there's the law of staging. So those are the 6 laws of movement and the 6 laws of life. So hopefully that sums that up to you. Before I come to the chat to talk to you, I'm going to quickly tell you, if you want to learn more about the laws of animation, if you want to get to this level, visit AMBAnimation.com, my website. The world's greatest learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation is yours to have access to here. The Real Animator Training Library. Simply click on Real Animator Training. You will be taken to this page here, which will have a video explaining about what the Real Animator Training Library is, a lot of information. Also, you see you got this shit for brains insignia here, who it's not for, okay? So you got testimonials. We got Edge Deep in the chat. This is the man Edge Deep here himself giving a testimonial. You can come down here. All of people, you can go through all these people who talk about their time in Real Animator Training. If that's not enough, you want to see, you can say, well, this guy's obviously a badass animator, but how will my work be good? Well, you can see what the kind of work people coming out of the Real Animator Training Library are doing. We've got this guy who's made his own short film here. Absolutely stellar stuff. So here's me reviewing his short film after just being 3 years in Real Animator Training. He's producing work like this. So we don't just have him. We have other people. Life Fantasy is in the chat as well. who's put in a lot of her own work and time. This is her study of somebody else's work. But you see, this is great. So you see, this place is no joke. We have people working from this place who are at a high level and who are looking to increase their quality anyway. So it's not just me. There's plenty more you can see in there. So what are these like today? What you've got out of me today is what I call edutainment. Now this is staying on YouTube, but if you like this kind of content and you don't want to commit to any course, you can go to what we call the edutainment archives. If you're into anime, for example, you can watch me breaking down a ton of anime in the Anime and Sakuga Effects Breakdown archive. So, you know, we have, you know, 1 to 4, we have got 11 videos studying the Naruto fight scene. So you can watch me breaking down a Naruto fight scene. So the way that I studied that Mickey Mouse, I did the same thing with this Naruto fight scene, right? So if you enjoyed that, you can watch me breaking down and explaining to you how the Naruto fight scene works, right? So just so you see that we've got a fair chunk of it. I didn't do the whole thing, but we did about 11 videos of it, right? So the same way I did the Mickey Mouse, I did that. I also did effects from various anime shows and films. So this you can get here, and it is extremely cheap. It's just 99 Great British pounds, and you're getting, you know, you're getting a whole load of videos. Hours and hours of information. This is 56 videos, how to animate your own film. So basically watch these videos. I'm not going to go on too much. If you enjoyed this content, then the edutainment archive is for you. If you want to go one better and you actually want to train and you want to really get good at what we call real animator training level, you can these dedicated archives. The basic archive will give you the 6 laws of movement, what we talked about. So you can watch each of these videos. They'll explain it to you. So you'll work through bouncing ball videos, pendulum videos. Each walk cycle video, you have 4 videos understanding legs, arms, head and body, and timing. So you've got to work, you know, so there's a good 24 videos of different walks that you're going to do. So you'll understand all those 6 laws that we talked about earlier: timing, arcing, slowing in, slowing out, pose to pose and straight ahead, solid drawing, follow through, overlap and drag, and a little bit of squash and stretch thrown in. You'll understand all of that, the 6 laws of movement, in the basics archive. And then you'll move on to the intermediate archive, where we'll be working with this flour sack, where you'll be doing a solid drawing turnaround, but then you'll be working with squash and stretch, anticipation, follow through, overlap and drag, primary and secondary action, staging, appeal and exaggeration are included in the flour sack series as well. So you'll be learning how to do all kinds of things with this flour sack. I won't go on too much, won't play this video too much, but just so you have an example, you'll be understanding how squash and stretch works, how anticipation works, how follow through, overlap and drag works. You'll be going through a series of videos, primary and secondary action, working with this flour sack. You'll also move on to doing more advanced walk cycles with more advanced stick figures like this. You will be then move on to be doing like all these different quadruped movements. So you've got a trot, a canter, a walk, a single suspension gallop, a double suspension gallop. So those are the 6 laws of life. So that will complete your 12 laws. But then you'll move on to the advanced animation archive, where you will then learn about how to put them all together to work to more professional levels. So in the secret science of shape simplification, you'll be learning about making a peacock run. But then what this archive has is it teaches you about really drawing on model. You'll be creating turnarounds of this humanoid character, hair, 360 turnarounds. You'll then be doing it also with faces, getting, you know, solid drawings of faces. You'll be understanding how to read and time dialogue for dialogue scenes. You'll also be doing an advanced quadruped walk to model. So it'll be something like this. You'll be doing this. And then with the peacock, you'll be learning how to do series simple of lines, which will eventually lead you on to doing these kind of peacock run with all these feathers. And just to quickly talk about that, people talking about software, Cameron Alan Davidson Black recently posted in the Facebook community group his peacock run cycle. So I'm going to quickly find that. We're going to do a community stream soon. But he did it on paper, which is absolutely fantastic. So we're just going to scroll down here. You see people who are working through library exercises and posting it in this free Facebook group. But I just want you to see Cameron's peacock run. I know it's here. I saw it, Cameron. Here it is. So here's Cameron's peacock run. Let's make that big. So he did it all with paper and pencil, and he followed that video. So you can see that it's taking effect there. So it's not hard for you to be able to start getting to level, doing great work. There are other seminars in here, Anatomy, Every Bone of the Human Body. Watch the videos. I've talked enough about this place. It is the world's best learning resource in the craft of hand-drawn animation. We have people who've worked at Disney, Nickelodeon. We've had people who have been to Animation Mentor, who've been to Don Bluth's training. We've had people who have been to CalArts, the Arts Institute, all those kinds of places, Full Sail. We've had them all signing up to here. And this place is much greater value. You're getting the price of the best animation training in the world for the price of a drone or a gaming laptop, a decent gaming laptop. So think about it. You really have zero. What do I have here? You now have zero excuses. Industry professionals and college graduates from the most established courses are signing up to this course, and you are getting the training they still desire for the price of an iPad or a mid-range laptop. There you go. Real Animator training is here for you. Any of you who want it, go sign up to it. Transform your life. It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you very much. All right, so that is that. Now, I'm going to scrub through this one more time because I like it. Right, now I'm going to go and look at the chat and see. We promised a bit of a Q&A at the end, so let's have that. Let's have a Q&A. My webcam. So I see there's a lot of stuff going on here. Patch Tunes is going. So good night, Patch Tunes. I'll read what you've said before I go. Let's just go up here. I remember Jonathan's comment. How are my projects going? You'll be seeing soon, Dylan Draws. I'm going to be resuming work on the Great One. I had to work with my scriptwriter on Alpha Man, so we've got the first 30 minutes of script out. We're going to get the two pilots, two half-hour episodes are going to be the pilot episode. We're going to get an hour's worth of script, so that's great. So it's all good. Everything's going along as it should be with Real Animator Studios, which is what I'm working on at the moment. Real Animator Studios is where we start making real animation. Real Animator Training is where we train real animators. Real Animator Studios is where we start producing real animation. This stream is really informative. I understand the reluctance about some of the Disney shorts. The charming ones are brilliant, but some definitely aren't to my taste. Horses for courses. Yeah, I mean, whether they're to your taste or not, they have an amazing animation in them. I mean, you know, for me, there's nothing in Pixar touches in terms of cartooning. Pixar like to consider themselves cartoonists with their cartoony style, which just looks like children's bubble baths of Mattel Disney characters for me. But that's just a matter of opinion. As you said, horses for courses, but I had to slip that in there. But for me, real cartooning happened in these shorts. Even Tom and Jerry has got great cartooning in there. I wish I had money to pay to help people with my projects, but I use it to buy time wasting things. Do you have problems keeping your story straight? I remember sometimes I get confused and can't keep the focus consistent. Well, I like to juggle between my projects, but the thing is it's important to write things down, and it's important to let things go. Let things go and let things grow, okay? We got to learn to not be in control. The five senses are given to you for a reason. The five senses are there to help the sixth sense, you know, which is your imagination, your inner creative urge, you know. So just allow them to help that thing get aware of what you want, and then just let it happen, right? Take your foot off the gas. I always say this I was saying it to my daughter, who's currently studying piano music composition, music theory. She wants to be a composer. I say, look, this isn't the only piece of music you're ever going to write. You're only 18 years old, right? This isn't the only piece of music you're ever going to write. So just leave it. It's done. Let it go. You know, you're going to come back. And, you know, when you're 28, you're probably going to be cringing about this. Maybe it'll still be good, but you're probably going to be, because of the journey you've had. So, but it's a long way for 28 right now, right? So just leave it. Move on to the next one. I think the imagination of the acting choices of the old Disney animators was so incredible. They had limitations technology wise. Yeah, well, that exactly. And also they were inspired by people who really loved movement, because they were coming out of the time when the talkies were something new in cinema, right? Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, the Keystone Cops, all these comedy movies was very much mime artists, miming, you know, and that larger than life body language really inspired them to try and put that into their characters. Just so many choices they made, wouldn't attempt to think or try. Yeah, it's just so stale nowadays. Every character is interchangeable. They all act the same way. They all have the same personality. They all, like Mickey and Donald, they're all so different. Goofy, they all, you know, all very different. All the way they move is very different. It's a pure personality. You know, when Disney did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, he was having that short mentality for those dwarfs. He said all of these different aspects of their character are just separate personalities of one person. They all come together to form one person, but we're all going to look at those and we're going to see traits, different traits that we can all relate to, because we all have those traits. And that's where the appeal comes in, right? So people forget that, and they're so obsessed with realism and live action acting and filming it and making live action reference, which is all good. You could study from live. I mean, they studied Chaplin, but they didn't study Chaplin to try and just copy Chaplin or just move it like Chaplin and push it a bit. You know, they studied Chaplin and went, we're going to turn that into animation art and put a bouncing ball there. We're going to throw in some follow through over. We're going to play with law, and we're going to make it something that is beyond Chaplin, because it's an animated character, and only an animated character can do that. You know, and I think that's what's missing in the era that we're in now. It's very lazy digital dependent puppetry, digitally dependent puppetry. They came from a tradition of brava draftsman illustration, a well-respected profession. Yep, their art teachers were academic painters, new theories in acting. Absolutely, Edge Deep. Ed Tado, how are you, sir? Shiba slump. The mighty 10 frame slow in. No, this one never had a 10 frame slow in. No. Um, but I see what you're doing there, Edge Deep. Charlene noticing the arcing. Thank you, Hervonia. With the body going up on the contact, it's like anticipation to the down. Exactly. Exactly. The law of anticipation. Thanks for the info. Draftsmanship was still a huge key to quality. 100%. You can't take draftsmanship out of there. And here we have someone asking about the software. Yes, the software is Toon Boom, but quite what that has to do with any of what I've just done is beyond me. You know, it would be nice if you asked me who the name of the animator was that I was studying, because I don't even know, and that's sad, because we've all learned something from his great work today. You know, it's not Toon Boom that does it. I have to remember though that I've got a lot of young people watching my streams, so I get fed up when people talk to me about the toilet. I call software the toilet because we all need to crap and we all need to flush that crap away, and it's useful, but we don't care who made it, right? We don't care what brand it is. We don't care. We just don't want to know that it does the job, right? So software is the toilet. But at the same time, I understand that young people are very impressionable. They want to be using what everybody else is using. But don't you see that makes you ordinary? Don't you see that makes you just another one of the crowd who are trying to do something? Go to the extraordinary and learn from them. And don't focus on what the ordinary are focusing on. That's my advice. The illusion of life was vital because he had to prove the world that it was more than a crude novelty. Absolutely. Absolutely. Patch Tunes has gone. Did you have fun at Disneyland? I thought I was going to hate it. My 80-year-old mother, who always dreamed of taking us to Disneyland, my brother rang me up. He said, I'm going to take my mother to Disneyland. She's always dreamed of it. She never ever had the chance to go. She never ever had the chance to take us. People from Indian families maybe know what I'm talking about when they overdo it with the work and the savings and all that kind of stuff. So he said, that's it. If she doesn't do it now, she's never going to do it. Are you in? I absolutely hated Disneyland. I had no interest in going to Disneyland because I thought all I would see there is Marvel characters, Star Wars characters, Pixar characters, nothing to do with what I believe is the real history and tradition of real animation. This company that shaped my life is now something that I feel ashamed to even say its name. And that's sad because Walt Disney is a great man. I love him. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for him. But I'm almost ashamed to say his name now because of what the company has become and what it's doing, and how it's just completely has wiped off its heritage, wiped off all quality. So I didn't want to go, but I went because it was about my mother. And I'm glad I did. Because I don't know if it's just because it's France and France is the European keeping with traditional culture or something, but it was outstanding. There was hardly any of the Marvel stuff in there, and I laughed because all the Marvel stuff was on sale at half price and the old-fashioned Disney stuff was all full price. There was just one Iron Man idiot walking around in an Iron Man suit who I cursed in my own language to, so no kid would know what I was saying. And there was, mostly it was all old-fashioned Mickey. And I didn't really care. I'm not one of these people, even when I love Disney, I wasn't really interested in theme parks and rides. A friend of mine was at work once, funny story. He said to me, what do you think of Walt Disney World? I said, Walt Disney World? That's a load of crap. He said, but you love Disney. You're always studying it and talking about it. I said, Disney should be about hard work and discipline and being the best at animation, not about people enjoying themselves. And he burst out, he went into a fit of laughter. He went in a fit of laughter and he said to me, do you realize what you just said? Do you realize how ridiculous that is? I said, what are you talking about? I'm animation. Animation is about being, and he said, that's not what, Disney is not about people enjoying themselves. And then I finally got it and I burst out laughing myself at how stupid it was what I said, because I see it as something completely different. I see it as art, animation, drawing, this and that. So that's like, if I see something that I don't approve of, it's like, that's not the way Walt would have liked it, or that's, where's Milk Carl here? Where's all this? So when I go to Disneyland, I'm like, I'm Grumpy Smurf, I'm Grouchy Smurf, and I'm Grumpy Dwarf, and I'm Donald Duck. I'm all these, stick in the mud because I've got this attitude. But it's true, you go there and everybody's laughing, everybody's enjoying themselves, everybody's having fun. It's great. And you're around that energy and it's contagious. And that's the way it should be. So yes, Kevin Silver, I had fun there. I would go again, but I would go again on my own. Not because I don't care for rides. I love the whole mock, like, they built all these mock town, this mock American Pollyanna style town, and with a little train going around it, and horses and carts, and like little shops and barbers, and I just love the design of all that. And I said, no, I'm going to come here on my own when I don't have to worry about family enjoying themselves. I'm going to bring a sketch pad and a camera, and I'm going to make studies and look at all these things here. So I enjoyed that. Lovely place. Pity about the people. So the problems with letting things go, because I want it to be perfect, so I keep working until it works for me. The thing is we all want it to be as good as it can be, but perfection like infinity can never be reached, so just enjoy the fact that you're constantly growing and improving. Don't look at it like that. Don't look at it like I have to let it go. Just say, man, this is where I am now. If I keep going like this, imagine where I'm going to be in 3 years. Imagine where I'm going to be next year. This is great. Eric, bonjour, monsieur. We were just talking about Disneyland Paris. I was impressing my family with my pidgin French. Even the people were quite impressed with that. Oh, parlez-vous français? I would say, je m'excuse, mon français n'est pas très bon, mais j'essaie. And then I would ask them for all kinds of things in French. Je voudrais un café lait, or un pain, or du fromage, or something. And they would be laughing at me, but they know what I meant. I miss you. Of course I miss you, Eric. See, I remember you as well. Rusty Rebels. I was on Andreas Deja's blog and I just saw duck pimples for the first time. It reminded me of Back to the Future scene where he gets the letter. I haven't seen that. I know that Andreas Deja is he's releasing his own film, Masha and the Bear or something. I wish him the best with that. I really like your take that tweening and rig deforms are IA. I like the way you put it backwards. Those things are highly accepted now, and many colleges share anti-AI statement, but they don't know that they've been using it all along. Exactly, Mr. Leon. Exactly, which is why I'm here. Like, I'm here talking about that R in the background. Real animator training. That's what it's all about. I mean, I can't be more plainer. Like, people don't like it. It's like I say, well, you can say what you want to say and you can like what you want to like, and I'm not disputing that. And you can enjoy doing it the way you're doing it, and you can say that it takes skill and ability, and I'm not going to dispute that with you. But the one thing you're not going to be able to change is you're using artificial intelligence. You're using artificial intelligence art. You're not. You might say, I know how to do it and it's speeding things up. But listen, the more and more you do it, it's happened to me, which is why I quit the industry when I was working on a storyboard for Lego and all these badly drawn shows, because it wasn't like this hardcore Disney stuff anymore. My drawing became weak. The less you do it, the work a muscle, the weaker it gets. So the more and more you depend on this stuff, the more and more the stuff that you claim you know how to do, but you're delegating it to the software. It just, I mean, the classic example is when people do hand-drawn animation and then they use the software to do the slowing. It creates this really uncanny effect. So you got this thing full of life and then the head suddenly slides like that. Dead head just sliding like that. There's none of that like boiling, slight volume issues, squash and stretch with a drawn line, which gives it the extra appeal because it's hand drawn. So you completely kill it. So I'm glad that you say that, Mr. Leon. The French were extremely against the France Disney. They banned wine in France. Walt absolutely loved Disneyland. He did absolutely love Disneyland. He got tired of animation and he wanted to make something else. He was a visionary. I'm scared of roller coasters, but I enjoy the food. All this damn fun. Oh, look at them all having fun. Tu parles bien le français. Merci beaucoup, mon ami. Your French is so cute. Oh, well, there you go. I'll take that as a compliment. I wish I knew more languages, but I don't give myself the time to learn it. I've gotten this Bruce Lee book called Striking Thoughts, Wisdom for Daily Living. I've read the quotes you say from that book. Oh, I don't know that book. It must be a new release by his daughter. Nice name. Thanks for the heads up. If it's like a pocket-sized book, I might have it for myself. I never want to forget one of the greatest influences in my life is the man. Okay, so there we have come to the end of the live stream. Listen, I know I haven't streamed for a while, but I hope that this stream more than makes up for that. Let me know in the comments if you can't, just remember, if you're not a subscriber, subscribe, or like, or share, or drop a comment and let me know. Yeah, I'll be looking to do a group review of our Facebook group review stream. I'll be looking to do one of those next week, about around a week from now. My pleasure, Silver Sun. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much for joining me on the stream. Always appreciate that I have an audience. Thank you so much. Keep working hard. Keep doing the best you can do. Keep believing in yourself. Keep the passion burning, for your art form, and keep on valuing yourself above external opinions and not letting those things stop you from picking up a pencil and drawing. You are valid, your drawings are valid, hand-drawn animation is valid. It is your passion, it is my passion. Let's keep on doing it, and let's always keep it real. See you on the next live stream. Bye-bye.